Still one of the game's great cathedrals. Welcome to Oriole Park at Camden Yards. So far for this series, the visiting Yankees have felt very much at home. Their big bats well on their way to a new home run record for the franchise, maybe even challenging for a new all-time mark. As we welcome you to Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, it's the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles. Sunday Night Baseball brought to you by Taco Bell. Tonight, staff ace and all-star right-hander Luis Severino looks to put a rough stretch behind him and earn a major league leading 17th victory of the year. With that, we welcome you inside the broadcast booth with Jessica Mendoza and Alex Rodriguez. Matt Vasgersian. The Orioles and Yankees, two teams that have occupied different spots in the AL Eastern Division standings for much of the year, wrap up a four-game series tonight. For the New York Yankees, they have gotten hot. Alex, you've been with the team. They've picked up 3 games on the Red Sox in the last 36 or so hours. They've won 7 of 8. Tell us what you saw this week.
A lot of good news and good energy for the New York Yankees. With Gary Sanchez and Aaron Judge on the mend, it's been all about phenom rookie Miguel Andujar, who's been phenomenal, and Giancarlo Stanton, the big man, playing like the MVP they've acquired from the Marlins. And for me, what you see with the Red Sox stalling a little bit this week, it gives the Yankees a glimpse of hope that the division is not out of reach.
The Red Sox have stalled a bit, swept for the first time this year. We'll talk a lot about Boston as we get going tonight. Luis Severino hopes that he hasn't stalled, although his second half has not been as productive as the way he pitched before the All-Star break.
It hasn't. And when you think about his stuff, that's something we'll get into. His slider hasn't been the same. His fastball is going to hit twice as much as it was in his first 18 starts compared to his last 8. But something that stands out to me and something to look for tonight, watch his body language, his demeanor. This is a guy, remember, 24 years old. He's already been through a ton, but if you look at him on the mound in those first 18 starts versus when he struggled as of late, you can tell early on the kind of pitcher that you're going to get. This is a lineup tonight, too. It's not the 1983 Orioles, okay? So this is a different lineup for him. Look for him to kind of get that swag, that confidence, and from there comes the stuff with the slider and the fastball.
Boy, so much of what you just said applying to Severino applies to the Orioles starter tonight. Dylan Bundy takes the ball for Buck Showalter's Birds, trying to prevent a home sweep against rival New York. We have a lot to get to on this Sunday night. In addition to the Orioles and Yankees, who'd start in a one-game postseason affair for the Yanks? We'll talk about that. AL Rookie of the Year voting will likely be a New York story and around the league. Matt Carpenter tied a Major League record in Denver today. We'll tell you about the red-hot Redbirds and more next. ESPN is presented by Taco Bell's Nacho Fries, this summer's tastiest blockbuster. And in part by BMW. We only make one thing, the ultimate driving machine. Well, there is some renewed optimism in the Yankee clubhouse because guess what? The Red Sox have fallen on hard times for the first time this year. They're swept in St. Pete. Blake Snell was the big problem for them today. 2-hit ball over 6 innings, allowed only 1 run, punched out 8. Rays beat the Red Sox 9-1. A little sweet revenge for Kevin Cash. It was the Red Sox first sweep of the season. So what does that do to the AL East? It means the Yankees are only 5 back in the loss column, 6.5 back in the division. A big departure from where the Yankees and Red Sox were earlier this month, when the last time we saw New York was on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. They were swept in Boston, walked off at Fenway Park, and everybody was kind of resigned in Yankee land to a wild card berth. Suddenly the division seems a lot more in reach as we take a look at the Yankees starting lineup tonight, presented by Taco Bell.
Yeah, man, and highlighting the switch hitter and DH Aaron Hicks, coming off a sizzling 5 for 9 yesterday with a double, 3 RBIs, and already career highs in home runs and RBIs.
These Yankees taking swings off 25-year-old right-hander Dylan Bundy on the mound for his 25th assignment of the year tonight. 7-12 on the season. Tuesday in Toronto most recently. 3 home runs in an 8-2 setback, and that's been a part of the story for Dylan Bundy all year long. 33 home runs allowed, the highest total in Major League Baseball.
Similar to what we'll see on the opposite side with Luis Severino. For Bundy, it's really been about his secondary pitches. That changeup and curveball, dramatic difference his last few starts compared to earlier in the season.
Gardner, Stanton, and Hicks, and we are underway in Baltimore tonight. Brett Gardner starts play, having hit safely in 13 of his last 16 games. As we talked about, the Yankees have some momentum, winning 7 of their last 8. They'll wrap up this road trip tonight, a quick 2 games in Miami, and then 4 here in Baltimore over the weekend after the doubleheader yesterday. And they go back home for 3 against the White Sox and 4 against the Detroit Tigers starting tomorrow. 2 balls and no strikes, the count to Brett Gardner. So getting back to what we talked about earlier, the fact that only a few short weeks ago, when the Yankees were walked off at Fenway, the Red Sox finished off a 4-game sweep. It looked like the narrative was all set for the Eastern Division. Red Sox roll, Yankees are going to have to focus on the wild card. It still may work out that way, but things have gotten interesting this weekend with the Red Sox falling on hard times in Tampa.
It sure has, Matt. And, you know, spending some time with the Yankees, there's an air of confidence for 2 reasons. Number one, they're playing well, and Brian Cashman has curated a roster that's not 25 men deep but 40 men deep, and this is where they get to flex their great resources.
Fly ball out to Adam Jones for the first out of the night. Well, those great resources led them to acquiring Giancarlo Stanton, the reigning National League MVP this winter, and he has paid great dividends, sitting on 299 career home runs, trying to become one of the fastest ever to 300. First pitch from Bundy misses outside.
The Yankees and Aaron Boone have been steadfast with the production and forecasting that he will come around, and boy has it paid off.
Fastball right on the corner to make it 1-1.
You know what's cool to see too is obviously someone who hits the ball harder than anyone else in baseball. Such a big presence in the batter's box, but how quiet he is with his swing. How balanced he is, the understanding, and honestly his evolution as a hitter, and knowing that he doesn't need that big max effort, no leg kick, no big huge all body swing. There's a simplicity, funky setup with how squared he is, but look how quiet he is. And when he's going, which he has been for a good 2 months right now, he's so completely balanced, whether they're coming in on him or sliders away. Doesn't matter the pitch. He'll still stay this quiet.
Full count now, 3-2.
And when you're at 299, 399, 499, Jess, you just want to get out of the way and do not let anxiety start building. The quicker, the better.
And a called strike 3.
The first pitch was identical to the last pitch. A four-seamer low and away. A perfect pitch by Bundy. Stanton did not like it, but it was a strike.
And guys, one of the things that Dylan Bundy's been doing earlier this year as he has struggled is trying to beat hitters in the upper half of the strike zone. So the conversation leading into this start, and there was a real makeover done by Bundy, focus on pitching down in the zone, finishing your pitches, and he also has developed refined his grip on his changeup to try to make that pitch better.
Well, Buster, to your point, in the fastballs we've seen just early in this 3 batters in now, is they've been, he'll elevate here and there, but it's been 92, 93 at the knees. An adjustment to your point that he's been making.
There's a big curveball at the knees for a strike to put Aaron Hicks behind 0-2. Well, credit Dylan Bundy for kind of rethinking what's happened this year, because his season has not gone as anticipated, nor has it for anybody in Baltimore this year, quite frankly. But when you consider the start that Dylan Bundy got off to, and he was great through April, bigger things were expected. Finally healthy, a couple of years removed from Tommy John surgery. Oh, and 2, pitching with 2 gone and the bases empty here in the first. So there is a similarity tonight between Bundy and Severino in that both are top of the rotation right-handers. Neither has had a great run of it since the All-Star break. Bundy with an ERA just over 9 in his last 8 starts. So something to prove for both starters tonight.
Well, it's something that's jumping off to me already with Bundy tonight is Matt. I mean, he was hitting 88, 89 with his fastball his last start. There was a lot of questions. Is he injured? Is he hurt? Because that's one of the biggest things when you see a drop in velocity. He's already hit 94 tonight. And that velocity difference for him, especially because he's a spin rate guy, it allows him to have better results.
Oh, no! No! On the check swing, they ring him up on the appeal, and Dylan Bundy strikes out a pair en route to a 1-2-3 start to the night. Time for Luis Severino to go to work as we're underway in Baltimore. Bundy is Buck Showalter with his 1,541 career wins, 24th on the all-time list and 3rd among active managers. Pens a Taco Bell Orioles starting lineup that looks like this. VR, Gentry, and Mancini off the top, Adam Jones, Chris Davis, and Tim Beckham, Renato Nunez, Jace Peterson, and Caleb Joseph rounded out for the Orioles. A very different looking group than the Orioles pre-deadline. Team, of course, trading away some high-profile veteran players. They will go to work against Luis Severino tonight, making his 27th appearance of the year. Working on 7 days rest. Last pitched on August 18th. A good start against Toronto, and one that went a long way toward easing some concerns over his post-All-Star game performances.
Two things to look for in his stuff tonight: the command of his fastball, being able to throw it not only for a strike like he did over the edges, but when he wants the miss, when he wants the swing and miss, to not have that pitch leak back over the plate. And the second is his slider. The depth that he gets on that pitch, and that is a sick pitch. We've seen it as probably one of the best sliders when it's going good. He's basically a two-pitch pitcher because he doesn't throw his changeup enough. That slider isn't effective. It leaves a lot of hitters hunting fastball.
2 balls and a strike to Jonathan Villar, the switch-hitting former Brewer. Villar has struggled over the last week and a half, a batting average under 200, but you'll hear that with a number of Orioles hitters tonight. You know, before we get too much further in this one tonight, if you haven't watched any Major League Baseball this weekend, you might be wondering about the BP style jerseys being worn tonight. It is the finale in Players Weekend tonight, and players all over the league wearing alternate jerseys and nicknames, a promotion that the Players Association started last year. Major League Baseball liked the idea. It continued this year, and fans, kids in particular, seem to really like it.
They get more freedom with their kicks, their shoes, their gear. See a lot more just personality, which I love. You know, coming out and the style that they'll wear, what they get to pick. And obviously the nickname on the back, but just not everything being so uniform, which can be refreshing.
And Villar fouls off a 3-2 pitch. Now, having said that, a lot of people have to sign off on the nicknames. You can't just go, you know, rogue and put whatever you want on the back of your jersey. Here's the payoff pitch once again on its way to Villar, and it's slapped foul.
You know, one of my favorite ones, Mike Harkey, the bullpen coach for the Yankees, his nickname in the back is I'm not CC, which is pretty clever. I'm not CC.
I didn't know that. I like that.
And there's Hart. Of course, he's not showing off his jersey.
Every time he comes out of the dugout, everyone's always screaming, CC, CC.
Leadoff walk issued to Jonathan Villar.
Still think Seth Lugo has the best one. Puerto Rican.
That's the best.
Yeah, Puerto Rican wins.
Pretty good.
Clever. Matt Holliday had a good one. I did touch home plate.
Was that real or photoshopped? We still don't know if he really wore that.
I'm going with he did, just because it makes for a better story.
We know that Matt Holliday hit a big home run over the weekend and has returned to the Rockies. Here's Gentry now, who slugs the first pitch out to left. Shane Robinson is there for it, and there's one gone. Yeah, apparently we are getting confirmation that the Rockies very cleverly manipulated the audience and photoshopped "I touched home" as it applied to the 2007 play-in game against San Diego, when Holliday scored the game-winning run walk-off style in a play that San Diego fans will be quick to tell you was not ruled accurately. Didn't really matter, because the narrative was the Rockies won in a magical run and went all the way to the World Series that year. Here's Trey Mancini now. So a walk and a loud out, and the first 2 assignments posted by Severino this evening. Much like Dylan Bundy, a big ERA over the 7 starts prior to his last assignment, a 7.50 earned run average.
If you're the Yankees, you're watching. The radar gun is going to tell you nothing. It's going to be all night 97 to 98. But what will tell you something is the hitters. The swings are taking, and more than anything, for Aaron Boone and the Yankees, you have to start watching body language. Because in many ways, for Luis Severino, this is an audition for game 163, the one playoff game.
Recalling, of course, Severino took the ball against the Twins at Yankee Stadium last year in that circumstance and couldn't get out of the first. VR runs. Throw down to second is not in time.
And this was stolen on the pitcher Severino on a changeup down. Romine does all he can. Nice tag, but just too much speed and too good of a jump. A running start.
Jonathan VR, a former National League stolen base champ. So he's in scoring position now for Mancini. Two and one. You know, you said something earlier regarding Severino, Alex, that I think's interesting. And in everybody trying to diagnose what's quote unquote wrong with him over the last 6 or so weeks, you look into the metrics, right? This is what we're now kind of conditioned to do. The metrics indicate that everything is the same except for the results. And when I say everything, I mean the spin rate, the usage, the velocity, all the things we look for to find a problem. Behind Mancini, it's 3-1 is fouled away. Here's what we're talking about regarding one particular pitch, Jess, and you've talked about the slider already tonight.
Well, this is where it stands out as far as, you're right, the usage, velocity, all similar. Spin rate, pretty much right there. But you look at the number of opposing batting average. They are hitting a pitch, and why? When you really dive into it, it has less break. It's got less movement. And what's crazy is it's still above average pitch because that's how good it was. But you're talking about a 4-inch difference in the depth, in the vertical drop of the pitch. So the white is his slider in April. Now in August, it doesn't look like a huge difference, but 4 inches less drop and 2 inches less horizontal break. So you think about 6 inches difference of break. Alex, you know, as a hitter, I mean, that's everything.
Mancini puts it in play to the right side. There's Walker, and there's out number 2.
It sure is. And from a hitter's perspective, when you're facing a guy like Luis Severino, here's the biggest difference for me. The fastball, not all fastballs are created equal. So 98, early in the year, will just explode and get on you. The slider, when it comes out of his hand, the bad one looks like a quarter, and you see a quarter spin. Jessica, when you get the tight slider, the good one, it looks like a dime. And that's the difference between good and great.
Well, and you see it honestly with how then the fastball plays up or down off of that. To your point, I mean, I think a lot of times when he gets behind in the count too, as a hitter, you know, okay, I can sit fastball because that's the pitch that he's going to come back with, that he's the most confident in right now.
And you guys are talking about body language. Jess, Alex, what are you referring to specifically? What have you seen during this run?
What you want to see is you want to look in the competitor's eyes. And I hope we get a couple good shots at it. You want to be like Predator. You know when somebody is passive or when someone's like a Predator buster. I remember having a conversation with Severino this spring, and we were watching, and we started in the 2nd inning in Tampa. And in the 6th inning, he was still talking to me about how he was going to attack hitters. It was so amazing to be around that type of energy. I knew then he was going to have an incredible start to the season.
Ball and a strike to the 5-time All-Star Adam Jones. Runner at third with 2 gone. And Jones behind 1 and 2.
I love listening to even Aaron Boone talk about it. And, you know, knowing Booney, very stoic most times, kind of describing things. The way he talks about Luis Severino when he is going good. To Buster's point, he says there's something about the way he stalks around the mound. Kind of almost Max Scherzer-like, a dominance, a conviction. And then on top of that, there's this piece where he called it, he wants to almost eat your face. like there's this look to kill, to your point, that he gets in his eyes.
He's the face of Adam Jones for the swinging strikeout to strand a base runner in his half of the first. Underway at Camden Yards. The Yankees and Orioles scoreless. At 4 p.m. Eastern, it's Intentional Talk, a fun 1-hour breakdown of the game's hottest topics with Chris Rose and Kevin Millar. You can also watch it live on the ESPN app if you're at work. Back at the top of the second inning, middle third of the Yankee order, Andujar, Walker, and Torres against Dylan Bundy, who struck out a pair en route to a 1-2-3 start to the night. Miguel Andujar, or Papa this weekend, if you will, leads all rookies in extra base hits, RBIs, 21 homers, ties him with Ronald Acuna Jr. for the most among rookies at that spot. Looking for number 22 with that hat.
And he does not get cheated. I mean, he's someone fun to watch because not only does he hit fastballs, but watch him against breaking balls. And this is when we talk young players, new to the bigs. Oh, like, what stands out to me is his ability to hit a multitude of pitches at a young age. We saw him crush a slider for a home run yesterday. Even in this at bat right now, fastball up in the zone, fastball low in the zone. He takes these bat speed swings where he unleashes. He still makes contact. Gleyber Torres looking on, another hot rookie for the Yankees.
And Andujar lines into center for the game's first base hit. The defense is a work in progress, Alex, and I know you were in Miami with him earlier this week working on just that.
You know, Matty, this 23-year-old, he's so likable, he's coachable, he's got a quiet confidence, and he's really thirsty for information. And had a chance to talk with Don Mattingly and really talk about the difference between good and great is defense, is fundamentals, is being in tremendous shape. And you want that to be part of your DNA and your reputation, that you're a great lockdown defender, because that type of quality is what's going to get you to be a world champion.
Here's Neil Walker now with Andujar aboard. Walker takes strike one.
One of the questions, too, I mean, we were just talking about Andujar with his bat and everything he does there. The defense has been probably the biggest question in the development there. I saw you working with him on the D, obviously your experience at third base. What did you hone in on?
I mean, first of all, you have to remember, Jess, this guy is only 23 years old. He's got a world of talent. It could be the cornerstone of his franchise, but he's a year out of college, if you think about it that way, right? He's only 23, and if the Yankees can get him just to be an average major league defender at third base, he can be a perennial all-star and be a cornerstone along with Aaron Judge and Torres and all the great young players. I saw several things while I was down in Miami. And what it had to do was basically his cadence. And he was kind of working in slow motion, and I put a time clock on him, and Phil Nevin was hitting ground balls to him. And the time was averaging about 6.5 to 7.5. Well, the problem is when a right-handed hitter hits the ball, the average is 4.4. So essentially, if you're playing basketball, it's like you're practicing an 8-foot hoop, but the hoop is 10 feet, right?
So you're talking about the time from when contact is made for whatever coach is hitting those ground balls to when he gets the ball to first base to finish the ostensible out.
So practicing it almost in slow motion, like kind of just practice mode instead of game mode.
That's right. And what we did, Jessica, is we only worked for 14 minutes. We spoke for 4, but 10 minutes he was sweating bullets because it was like being in a cage fighting. And the thing is, we took him from 7.5 to an average 3.5.
On a one-hop out to Chris Davis. They get the out at second and not in time to double off Walker.
And Alex, to your point too, it feels like, I mean, you played third base for many years, that having that internal clock is so important. It seems like that's something that he can develop moving forward.
It is so important, Buster, and it's repetition. It's like Malcolm Gladwell says, at 10,000 hours. The more you do it, the better you get. And the Yankees just have to have his work ethic to be one like Derek Jeter or Paul O'Neill or Tino Martinez. You know, we all had the same regimen every day, and you have to be religious. And I'll tell you this, my message to Andujar was the Yankees will be very forgiving in-game mistakes, but they will be ruthless when it comes to your discipline and your routine. There is no excuses for someone to outwork harder than you or to work smarter than you.
1 out, 1 on, as Andujar is erased from the base paths on the ground ball. And now it's fellow rookie Gleyber Torres. Torres has been hot, 11 for his last 27. Read a little further, that's 5 multi-hit games in his last 7 played. And if Andujar is the favorite of the moment for American League Rookie of the Year honors, then the place horse is likely the kid at the plate. In some way, shape, or form in a Quinella box, it figures to be Torres and Andujar, or vice versa, 1 and 2 in Rookie of the Year voting.
Well, and the thing that doesn't get talked about with pretty much any of these awards is the defense. And that's where we're talking about Andujar and how he's still developing in that area. Gleyber Torres is there. I mean, he is not only a Major League second baseman where he's played, but with Didi Gregorius in the DL. I mean, watch him even tonight make plays. And to be a rookie and be the athlete that he is in the middle of the infield for the New York Yankees, I mean, that to me should give him some sort of points in that Rookie of the Year voting.
There's always room for improvement, Jessica. These young men, they're world class. But really it's about understanding what's going to make them world champions. And when I talk to young players like Torres and Andujar, there's 5 things in this order that I look for. It's great conditioning, great defense, great fundamentals, hitting, and the last thing I care about is home runs. And a lot of times young players have it reversed.
Well, speaking of home runs, as Torres puts a big pass on that ball to fill the count, he's got 19 of them. Andujar with 21. The last team to have a pair of rookies enjoy a 20-plus home run season at the same time was the 1975 Red Sox, with a couple of guys named Fred Lynn and Jim Rice.
Decent crew.
That's an okay comp. Here's Walker. Torres lines softly into center field. Laying out is Gentry. Did he make the catch? He did. Throw into first is unable to double off Walker. A fine layout grab by Craig Gentry in center field.
Watch the jump that Gentry gets, because this ball is dying, and right off the bat you can tell it's hit hard and then it just dies. And it's almost like a changeup. You see it going down quick. Gentry gets the jump, but then he goes all in. This ball gets by him. That's a double or triple for Gleyber Torres, but he knows, because the jump, the ability to lay out, put on the cape, That's as full length as you're going to get to make a great grab. And again, the risk, because that gets by him, and runners are running. And he almost had doubled off Neil Walker at first base. He makes a good throw there. That's a double play in the inning.
Here's Luke Voit, who on the first pitch hits a high drive the other way, and that one is gone. One of the newest Yankees, his second home run of the series.
Watch how deep this ball is going to get on Luke Voit. And this is the patience that we've seen, and it's a different Voit that we saw when he first came over to the Yankees. Felt a lot of pressure. You saw him over swinging, getting out ahead, but look at him let this ball travel. This is his strength, his trust in his body. Because of that, he drives a pitch that's 93, that deep to right field. It cleared by like 4 feet, but enough with the strength to get the Yankees on the board.
2-0 New York for Austin Romine. But Luke Voit came to the Yankees in exchange for Chasen Shreve and Giovanni Gallegos right before the deadline. Didn't have a chance to play as much when he first got to the Yankees. But Greg Bird's struggles have opened up a door for him.
How crucial.
And he has really performed the last couple of weeks.
I mean, it's about timing in this game, but the fact that Greg Bird, to your point, has been struggling. Luke Voit, who had the chance when he first came over, struggled, went down to AAA, and now capitalizing in a big weekend with that home run. Third home run in the last 3 games.
Bundy finishes off the strikeout, finishes off the side, but not before Voit does a little damage. Through an inning and a half in Baltimore, 2-0 New York. On ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. Well, the Orioles finish their homestand this week with a 3-game series against the Blue Jays starting tomorrow. Come out to Camden Yards, see Jones, VR, and Mancini all in action. Get your tickets now at Orioles.com. Just saw the Babe Ruth Birthplace Museum here in Baltimore. The Babe born in that tiny little row house on Emory Street, not far from where we are right now.
I want to go.
Some of the bats on loan from the Keith Olbermann collection. It's a cool place.
I want to check it out.
They've got like a little recreation of his of the bedroom, which, you know, we're led to believe the Babe entered the world.
That's pretty cool. We should have gone.
It's cool. 2 balls and a strike to count to Chris Davis. Davis, Beckham, and Nunez in the second. Well, for Chris Davis, who has certainly Babe Ruth-like power when he's going right, it has been a rough 2018. A 169 batting average. And there are many conspiring factors. One of which, and not to sound like a Chris Davis apologist, it's just fact that nobody is shifted more in Major League Baseball than Chris Davis. A swing and a miss. Second strikeout for Severino tonight.
And that's his pitch, a slider, 3-2, and a good one with the late bite. And that's, you see that spin right there? That's more like a dime and not a quarter. Severino and the Yankees want a lot more of that right there.
So the shift has nothing to do with the strikeout totals. As you take a look at some of the numbers on Severino, innings after where the Yankees have scored. In other words, shutdown innings, and he's been scoreless in 50 of the 58. Here's Tim Beckham now with 1 gone.
Even though the Yankees talk about that he's not tired, that he is healthy, you got to think this has been 8 days since his last start. And that's something they are looking closely on, because this is a young pitcher, 24 years old. He's already pitched 159 innings this year, 190 plus the postseason last year. And if you look at numbers of pitchers at that age and the seasons that they have, there's a reason why there is a slump. That's not the entire reason, but 8 days of rest ain't a bad idea for a 24-year-old pitcher who's struggling.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Tim Beckham. Well, you know, I don't know if we've just become a little bit more aware of these thresholds because we're more enlightened with numbers now than ever, or if in fact this was happening back in the day and we just had no idea. But if you take a look at the last group of pitchers who worked 190 or more innings and a postseason, who were age 23 or younger. So you get all the disclaimers there, 23 or younger, 190 plus innings and postseason. And for each of them, and there have been 4 that fit that category over the last decade, there's been a regression the following year.
And if they've pitched in the postseason, it's got to be a pretty good group.
And that's true. It is a good group. They have that in common as well. Go back 10 years ago, Chad Billingsley of the Dodgers. Big workload. The following year struggled. Madison Bumgarner, the year after his 2012 heroic postseason, struggled. Aaron Sanchez most recently.
But I think the point is, too, they didn't struggle the entire season. There were stretches. For Mad Bum and Aaron Sanchez in particular, it was 8 start stretches, which is exactly what Severino has just come off of. 8 starts where he has not been the same as he was earlier in the season. I think the hope for the Yankees is that is a real possibility that it turns around, hopefully starting tonight.
6th batteries faced and the 4th full count of the night, and it's still 3-2 to Tim Beckham.
You get to this time of year, Matt, and you get within 5 or 7 starts to the end, and you start kind of thinking about these are dress rehearsals for October. And as a manager, Aaron Boone, general manager Brian Cashman, they want to look out there and say, this is the horse that we won 1, 4, and 7, and we still undecided about game 163.
On a sharp hop for Neil Walker, who hadn't played perfectly for route number 2.
And what you'll see with Severino, the differences are very subtle. The speeds, we talked about the radar gun, will tell you nothing. But what will tell you something, early in the year when we saw him against the Mets, it was 1, 2, 3 pitches out, 1, 2, 3 pitches strikeout. Now it's 3-2, it's 3-2, couple foul balls. All of a sudden, instead of him getting into the 8th, he's getting into the bottom of the 5th or top of the 6th.
2 gone for Renato Nunez, the 3rd baseman tonight. Big shoes to fill on the left side of the infield for the likes of Renato Nunez and company after the departure of Manny Machado to Los Angeles. Nunez has bounced around a little this year. Most of his season spent at AAA Norfolk. Started the season as a Ranger, claimed off waivers by the Orioles in May. Third strikeout of the night for Luis Severino, who's starting to get that feel back tonight. Stanton leads off the third in a 2-0 Yankee lead.
Who's leading MLB in home runs?
Well, it's somebody other than J.D. Martinez for the first time in a while, because Oakland's Chris Davis cannot be contained by man nor beast. 39 big boys for a guy who is not a huge player, but who certainly plays big on the field for the A's, who are surging. They've won 3 in a row, trying to chase down the Astros, who are just as hot, having won 5 straight games. Only a game and a half of separation out there in the AL West.
Well, and how much Chris Davis would be such a bigger name. He gets one more home run. That's 40 home runs in his first 3 seasons. When you think about the small list of players to be able to do that in a game that just loves and rewards and craves the home run, this is a guy that still isn't as known as he should be because he's out west in Oakland.
Shane Robinson leads things off in the Yankee half of the third. Gardner and Stanton to follow here in a 2-0 New York lead. Shane in the midst of a 3-for-31 month of August. And he's in front, 3 balls and a strike.
If you're Dylan Bundy and there's not much to play for here late in August, if you're the Baltimore Orioles, this is the type of start, national television, where there's a showcase start for you. And this, for Bundy, this is your playoff start. And Jess, you mentioned going up from 89 to 92. Well, he's already hit 94, 95 today. That's an example of the adrenaline and him stepping up to this game.
Well, Buck Showalter loves Dylan Bundy, has loved him ever since the club used the 4th overall pick to take him in June 2011. Bundy made his major league debut the following September. Robinson with a shot into the left center field gap. Gentry's there to cut it off quickly, and they hold Robinson to a leadoff single. As we've talked about, one of the big problems for Dylan Bundy this year has been the home run. Let's take a look at StatCast AI powered by AWS. Only Josh Tomlin has had a higher percentage of his pitches leave the ballpark.
Well, I think to Buster's point earlier, I mean, because he is a pitcher that has a higher spin rate, meaning he just gets more spin repetitions on his balls that he likes to elevate. What that spin does is it allows a pitcher to get up in the zone and have it kind of stay up in the zone instead of drop. But for Dylan Bundy, that pitch has gotten hit more this year than it ever has for him in the past. So a goal for him in this start, not only increasing the velocity, which he's done because of adrenaline, is to also try to locate that fastball at the knees so that he's not getting crushed over the fence.
Ball and no strikes, the count to Brett Gardner, who started the ball game with a fly ball to right. You know, it's kind of easy to lose sight of the fact that Dylan Bundy, because he was such a prized prep star and a guy that was earmarked for superstardom very early in his career, has lost what amounts to 2.5 years of his career to injury. June of 2013, his big league career had just begun the previous September. Tommy John surgery, rehab, subsequent setbacks, a shoulder specifically, cost him the next 2.5 years. And when he finally got back onto the mound in April of 2016, almost 1,300 days had passed between major league appearances. Gardner pops it up. Beckham and Gentry, and it's the center fielder that makes the play for route number 1.
And Matt, he is a hugely important part of this organization right now, because as the Orioles go through this rebuilding process, it's possible that Bundy at age 25 could be part of the Orioles as they start to turn the corner. It's also possible that if he pitches well the rest of this year in 2019, he could rebuild his value. They could put him out on the trade market and they could get assets, because he's someone who's always been seen as a pitcher with promise.
Who go to work on Giancarlo Stanton now with 1 out and 1 on here in the 3rd. Stanton celebrating Players Weekend. A strikeout victim in his first try tonight.
And he's had 24 at-bats between 299, and it starts building somewhere around 15, 16 at-bats. Yesterday he had a home run taken away from him. And I'm telling you, it starts building. You just want to get the home run and get to 301 and keep playing winning baseball.
Yeah, let's take you back to that home run that was taken away, not because of a bad call, but because of a great play. Cedric the Entertainer, as they call him here in Baltimore. Rookie Cedric Mullins up and over the fence to take away number 300. And if looks could kill.
Yes.
And Big G there looked very cool. I mean, that is a heart-breaking feeling. I mean, your heart is just like, come on, let's just get 300 out of the way.
Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Stanton.
It's amazing how cool baseball players can look from the outside and how demoralized and heartbroken and insecure you could be in the inside.
Speaking of which, among all the milestones you pursued, which one drove you the most crazy? You were just hanging out there like, let's get this over with.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
50 at-bats between 599 and 600.
Just pull that out. You had that in your back pocket.
Oh, Moses just gave it to me on a card.
That's just mean.
Swing and a miss by Stanton. He goes down on strikes for the 2nd time tonight. Was that the right answer, Alex?
I'm gonna look at this replay real quick, and there's a slider, and you see a little bit of an overswing here with Stanton. He swung through 2 fastballs, and then you see a cement mixer, a hanging slider, a pitch that he's been doing a lot of damage as of late. But again, 25 at-bats now. It starts creating a little bit of anxiety. Buster, for me, it was $4.99 to $500. I wanted to do it at the stadium in front of my family, in front of my daughter, and I had 28 at-bats between $4.99 and $500. But those 28 at-bats felt like 2,800 at-bats.
0-1 the count to Aaron Hicks.
It's a moment you want to share with the fans, especially your home fans, and that was old Yankee Stadium, which meant a lot to me, and you just wanted to get it done at home.
Well, for Stanton, if it happens at home, say tomorrow, it's the White Sox in town. It's left-hander Carlos Rodon. He's worn out left-handed pitching this year. I'm not saying it's not going to happen tonight. Still a good chance of that. He's going to have at least 2 more plate appearances.
Big G, now there's a serious moment. Big G made a request, and it had to involve Matt. And he said, if I hit 300, I just want Big Matt to say, Santa Maria!
Okay.
Pressure, Matt.
The Italian in him wants to hear a little bit. Okay.
Oh, no.
Check swing by Hicks, and it's 2-1.
He has been an absolute, the gold standard. And the Yankees could not be more proud of the way he's gone about his business. I thought, Buster, he set the tone early in the year by having 2 5-strikeout games in the first week, and he was impeccable the way he handled it. He took on the responsibility, and for the fans of New York, they took note, and the rest has been just really, really good.
Lined into the opposite field. Robinson to the next station. And Aaron Hicks' improved results from the left side of the plate continue here tonight.
He just gets in a fastball count, 2-1 pitch middle away, but you just like the approach with Aaron Hicks. And the biggest difference I see from him in the left side for when he did struggle to now being red hot from this side is this: front shoulder in, taking a pitch middle away, left field base hit.
Little traffic for Bundy to deal with now with runners at first and second and 2 gone from Miguel Andujar. He singled in his first try tonight. You know, talking about Hicks and being better from the left side of the plate, switch hitter. And as compared to how he began his career with the Twins batting left-handed and where he is now, much better results as a Yankee.
Career highs in home runs and RBIs, and if that's not enough, he's also a scratch golfer.
Does he golf left or right?
I would be guessing, but I believe he's right-handed, but that's just a guess.
Okay. Note to self, do not play golf with Aaron Hicks.
Or
that's extra base. Extra base is into right field, and it's going to score a pair. A 2-run double by Miguel Andujar, who has singled and doubled tonight.
Folks, this is a rookie. Look at the pitch location of this, and we talked about it earlier. His ability, Aaron Boone told us pregame, to hit a multitude of pitches. This is a ball. It's up, it's away, it's off the plate, but look at his body. And this is a swing that can crank it to left when he wants, but he can go to right when the pitch dictates. He's behind in the count because of that. He sees where it's located and drives this as fair as you can get down the right field line on a pitch that wasn't even a strike.
Well, he has already joined very impressive company in franchise history, and here's another board that he fares well on. 60 extra base hits, some legendary names on that chart. Putting together one of the finest rookie seasons in franchise history. The year after, we said the same thing about Aaron Judge.
There's so many things to like about Miguel Andujar. His last 3 hits, he's got a 3-run homer. He takes a fastball in, jams it for a base hit, takes the same pitch and hits a double down the right field line. 5 RBIs in his last 3 at-bats. That swing, Jessica, for me, what's so exciting about the Yankees, it plays in October. He's got the ability to hit home runs, but yet stay inside the baseball. Even though he's 23, he has the maturity of a 33-year-old in the box.
A ball and a strike to Neil Walker. Well, with the 2-for-2 tonight, Andujar has pushed his season batting average up over 300 at 303. The last Yankee rookie to hit over 300 was Derek Jeter in his Rookie of the Year season in 1996. Ball and 2 strikes on Neil Walker. 2 in the second, now 2 in the third for New York.
Oh, no! No!
And on the appeal, no swing.
I think Andujar will sign up for any portion of Derek Jeter's career that he wants. He'll take a fraction of it. I think the Yankees will be happy, and Andujar will be thrilled.
The 2-2. Well, let's face it. I mean, with all the absences that the Yankees are dealing with, Judge, Sanchez, Chapman, Gregorius. If it wasn't for the fact that the young players who have stepped up are seasoned well beyond their years, things might not be as rosy in the Bronx.
That's your best player. You're basically your captain, your shortstop, your catcher, and your closer. Yes. In any other team, they'd be crippled. For the Yankees, you're right. They've got young players that are able to shine in a city that's pretty darn hard to shine in, especially your first year.
And Andujar's last 52 games, guys, he's hitting .338 with 24 extra base hits in those 52 games.
Amazing.
So Andujar still at second on a 3-2 pitch on its way to Neil Walker. And he lays off ball 4. Yeah, this is what the Yankees are without currently. Almost 30% of their 211 home runs. Judge, Gregorius, Sanchez. Alex, if I told you at the beginning of the season that there'd be a significant stretch where they'd be without that group at the same time, you'd say, uh-oh. Middle of the pack finish in the division.
100%, Matt. But what I do know is I have, the fortune to see them from a different prism. And what Brian Cashman and his staff have done is they've set up a roster that can field 2 major league rosters. And if you look at the average age of their starters, it's around 28 years old. So there is a lot of muscle to flex. They have financial muscle that most teams do not have.
Yep.
And that's why they're in this position where they actually gain grounds as the big boys are mending back in Tampa.
Boy, such a good point. And as we visit with Buck Showalter as we did today, he's pointed out over the years this is where the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Cubs and Dodgers, that's where they really differentiate themselves from the pack. They can afford to have the deeper rosters with veteran players, with an F troop that can step in when your regulars go down. And here's Torres now, who takes a breaking ball for a strike. And it sounds like Buck bemoaning a small market fate. It's really not the case. It's just reality. And Buck has a pretty firm grasp of it. He knows the landscape in the AL East. That's why it's such a challenge for teams that aren't the Red Sox and Yankees to compete in that division.
Matt, and to your point, it's demoralizing when you have one of the greatest players in the world who came out of Miami in Manny Machado, who Buck Showalter recognizes as a supreme talent, and you cannot sign him because of the financial limitations that the Orioles have, and really most teams have.
1-1 to Torres, misses outside. 2 balls and a strike in what's turning into a long inning for Dylan Bundy here in the third. So Chris Davis there a moment ago, and looking back on the decision to re-up the big money for Davis, there wasn't going to be enough to keep everybody. And there's still a healthy check outstanding for Davis over the next number of years. Swing and a miss finishes the inning. Not before the Yankees can play two more on the two-run double off the bat of Miguel Andujar. It's 4-0 New York. Orioles, and so much of their veteran talent traded away this season. Machado, the first to go to the Dodgers, Britton to the rival Yankees, Scope to Milwaukee, and the big deal that sent Gausman, O'Day, and Brock to the Atlanta Braves. A lot of minor league talent coming in return for general manager Dan Duquette and manager Buck Showalter, and around their futures there is no certainty either, each in the final year of a contract here with the Orioles. Luis Severino back to work. He'll face Jace Peterson, Caleb Joseph, and then the top of the order, Jonathan Villar. Two balls and no strikes. The count to Jace Peterson, the switch hitting left fielder. Under 200 at the start of play. Fastball right down Main Street. Severino has struck out 3 so far tonight. Yet to allow a hit. He did walk the first man he faced. And he falls behind Peterson 3-1. I mentioned the Atlanta Braves a moment ago. They were winners today in shutout fashion after losing 2 in a row, being held to just 1 run. And there's a base hit into the opposite field, first of the night for the Orioles. We talked about the Yankees going home to start a series with the White Sox. Monday Night Baseball, a doubleheader tomorrow on ESPN. It'll be Carlos Rodon and Masahiro Tanaka in the opener, White Sox and Yankees, and then the nightcap out west, Jonathan Gray and the Rockies against the Cuban import Adrisamar Despagne of the Angels. Sunday Night Baseball next week. Jess, Alex, Buster, and I'll be in Houston for the Angels and Astros. Here's Caleb Joseph now. You know, we promised a mention of Matt Carpenter when we went on the air. And I'm reminded of that because we talk about the Rockies being on ESPN this week. The Rockies had been absolutely red hot. They had won 11 of 14, a major league best 18-5 in August, yet they had their lunch handed to them by the equally hot Cardinals today. And Matt Carpenter tied a major league record by doubling 4 times in a 9-inning game.
Wow.
Adding to his potential MVP candidacy.
It's amazing how it just keeps continuing, and he's one of those hitters that came into the season. We talked about Stanton and his struggles. Matt Carpenter, I mean, he couldn't hit his way out of a wet paper bag in April. Paul Goldschmidt in that same, and then since then those three guys have been on fire, but Matt Carpenter taking the cake with.
Caleb Joseph does a nice job to serve a base hit into right field. Well, it's worth giving you the look because the 4 doubles came in a lopsided win. Joe Ducky Medwick set the record in 1937. Carpenter had 2 of his 4 in the first inning. Another in the third, his last in the 7th, 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs as the Cardinals win it going away. And Matt Carpenter is a legit MVP candidate this year for a surging Cardinals team that is very much in the midst of a wild card race.
And we were there early in the year, and there were some rumors and talks about, some whispers about him maybe platooning, and he's lost a step and defensively and all of this. And I mean, the message for the young kids out there listening is, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Don't ever give up. And I thought Carpenter, throughout his struggles, kept a great attitude.
Jonathan Villar has been called out as in trying to bunt, he made contact with the baseball outside the batter's box. Buck Showalter wants a full explanation from Alfonso Marquez. We'll take a look at it again.
Well, he was taking the drag bunt down the first baseline, and it definitely did hit him. Just where, if it's made contact within the batter's box, he's fine. If he's out of the batter's box, you see him here. He knees it. It's a question of he's in or out of the batter's box when he does. Watch that left knee.
Yeah, there's 2 questions for Marquez, the home plate umpire. Is it in the box, and is it fair, or is it foul?
So there is 1 away, as it'll be Craig Gentry now with runners at first and second. I believe the catcher is credited with the putout on that play, in really what amounts to the most useless, trivial bit of information I could possibly come up with in that instance. Really, who cares?
But it's interesting. What the catcher? How does the catcher get credit?
Yeah,
closest player. For the batter.
If closest player gets the credit, 2 unassisted. There you are. If you're scoring at home, and if you're scoring at home, I weep for you.
You know, Matt, I was all over each of those details, okay? So that tells you what a useless life I have. That was just described for me, okay?
I'm with you, Buster.
I was right on top of it. I was like, hey, the catcher gets the credit. Should I tell Matt?
Nope. Matt's the baseball nerd, too.
Alex asked me what I did last night in Baltimore, and my answer was just such a sad statement about myself. I sat around in the hotel room with the MLB.com app and watched baseball for about 6 hours and read about VORP and UZR and defensive metrics, and I basically passed out.
And you mentioned a little NFL package too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something to mix it up. I was up watching the Padres and Dodgers last night until about 12:45.
Yes.
And I would have stayed up later had the power not gone out at Dodger Stadium in the bottom of the 11th.
Exciting
Saturday night.
That's awesome.
Loser.
That sounds like a great time. Wow, that's my whole high school lifetime right there. You just described it.
Me too.
No SNL?
No, I didn't do anything but watch those games. That's lined into left. 3rd hit of the inning. And that loads the bases here in the Baltimore 3rd. I'm out.
And here's a slider and a bad one. Does not do anything. Stays really tight. Good contact. Bases loaded, 1 out. This is the first test for Severino.
Well, this would be an even more tricky situation had it not been for the fact that Villar got himself out when he made contact with his own drag bunt. So Peterson, Joseph, and Gentry aboard. Very good speed at first base. And now it's up to Trey Mancini. By the way, that play with Villar was reviewable should the Orioles had chosen. If they felt like they had a case, Buck would have reviewed that or asked for a challenge. He did not. I think he was convinced that they had the call right.
Go ahead, Jess. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Something we had focused on was the body language of Severino after big hits, after honestly missed pitches, which what that slider was. And that's something huge for him, is his demeanor, how convicted he is with his pitches, and what he does after a mistake.
Ball and 2 strikes to Trey Mancini.
And he's just not being as efficient as he was early in the year. Early in the year, in his first 18 starts, he was averaging 15 pitches per innings. He's up to almost 20. He's had tonight 5 3-ball counts already. The more looks they get, the better they hit.
Mancini is a guy who's given him trouble as well. In fact, he's the only Oriole in the lineup tonight that can claim that. Not a huge sample size, but 5 for 10 in past meetings, including their at-bat tonight. Nowhere to put him with 1 away. Severino has shaken off Romine twice. And strikes him out. Well located 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
And a great 98-mile-an-hour fastball, Matt, here, like you mentioned. Upper quadrant of the zone. And that's the Severino you want to see. Come back, get a little extra, and get tested. Jessica, you mentioned this is not the 1983 Birds. Nevertheless, they're Major League Baseball hitters, and a big test for Severino as you see him calming himself down.
So now Adam Jones, also a strikeout victim tonight. Bases loaded with 2 gone now. You mentioned Severino calming himself down, Alex. That's a part of his game that's really evolved. And with an assist from some of his veteran staff mates, Masahiro Tanaka in particular. An unusual pairing. 2 stars who speak English as a second language, but who have communicated in the past about situations just like this. In fact, at Tanaka's urging, Severino used to have the word patience written underneath the bill of his cap to remind himself of exactly what you just talked about. Calm yourself down. 2-1 to Jones.
Last 2 pitches are at 100 miles an hour, followed by 99. His stuff is so good. He's got to calm down, have patience, and trust his supreme stuff.
Jones able to lay off 99 to get in front. 3-1 now. Again, Peterson, Joseph, and Gentry aboard. All there via base hits. 3-1 to the 5-time All-Star. And Jones sends a fly ball out to medium right. That'll get Severino off a bases loaded hook in the 3rd. Baseball brought to you by T-Mobile, using our front row camera and a front row seat for Luke Voigt's 2-run home run in the top of the second. Just out of reach for Adam Jones in right. And an unusual note here. Former big league closer and all-star Danny Graves has noticed this and put it out on Twitter. It got to the attention of Buster. He's got an interlock grip, a golf grip, index finger around the pinky.
Unusual grip, and I've seen a handful of players over the years go to that grip. But what stands out to me is how strong this young man is. Walking around, I thought he looked like a middle linebacker. I've changed my mind. He looks more like a nose guard. He's enormous. Matt, I'm going to make my first call of the year.
Okay.
He reminds me of a young Dante Bichette.
Okay, I like that. You talking stature and size and presence in the box, that kind of thing?
Yeah, not necessarily face, but, you know, body strength, kind of staying inside the ball and muscling it out to right center field.
Have you ever messed around with a grip like that?
Yeah, on the golf course.
but you've never taken the golf grip to the batting cage? Just
No, I never really understood that.
Well, he's interlocked again. Full count to him now, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Well, the first base position for the Yankees is worth watching right now because Luke Voigt seems to be the hot hand. It would appear that he's going to get most of the opportunities.
Ball 4.
And he takes ball 4.
Another quality at bat.
The incumbent, although he wasn't there for a very long time as the incumbent, Greg Bird, has really struggled down the stretch. And so between Voigt, one of the newest Yankees, Neil Walker, who can play there in more than a pinch, and Bird himself, it's going to be a mix and match for Aaron Boone, and perhaps just a situation of who's swinging the bat the best. Now.
You can never have enough talent, and for Aaron Boone and the Yankees, it's a great problem because competition is good.
Swing and a miss by Romine, who had a 3-hit game in the nightcap of the doubleheader yesterday. Well, talking about Greg Bird, since the end of July, it has been a struggle. Just 2 home runs and a 115 batting average. You know, I think this, though, about Bird, about Voigt, about first base, it's all about the fall for the Yankees, Alex. I've heard you say that a lot. And if Greg Bird can get things together and find that rhythm on October 1st, 2nd, around there, we're going to forget all about any valleys in the season this year. As Romine strikes out.
What Bird has is what you can't teach, is the recognition of the strike zone. And that plays very well in October. And he's a guy that you can trust because he's not going to expand for the most part. You just need to get him going. He may not play tomorrow because the White Sox have a lefty going. But on Tuesday, he gets 2 or 3 hits. Aaron Boone can say this could be ancient history.
6 strikeouts for Dylan Bundy. Meanwhile, here's Shane Robinson now with a runner aboard and 1 gone. Robinson takes a strike. You just got to ride the hot hand. Who's going to get hot in October? And we talked about this earlier today. 2014 Oakland A's, Brandon Moss was an all-star in the first half and then went through a wretched stretch in August and September. Started the wild card game against the Royals, hit 2 dingers, and would have taken off even farther than that if the A's had gotten past the Royals that year. It's about getting hot on that one night.
And Matt, Jess, I don't know if you guys remember, but this starting to feel a little bit like the late 90s. Shane Spencer and the way he entered the scene.
Shane Robinson with a shot to shortstop. Nice backhanded pick by Beckham. Not enough time to turn 2, however.
Center fielder, number 11.
Quick reminder, the MLB At Bat mobile app brings every baseball moment to your favorite devices. Catch it all season with the free MLB.tv game of the day, in-game highlights, stats, news, and more. Download MLB At Bat today, your #1 app for live baseball. Orioles Hall of Fame wall.
Some great ones there over the years. Give me your favorite Oriole of all time.
Ripken.
Ripken.
Really out on a huge limb there. Cal Ripken, you don't say.
Kind of put it on a tee.
How about you, Maddie?
How does
Billy
he not
Ripken.
get mentioned?
Billy Ripken.
Yes.
Wow.
Favorite
Does he
Oriole.
work with him?
Yeah, he's one of the smarter baseball guys that I've ever been around.
He is outstanding.
And he's a little off, so he's funny.
He did one of the greatest pieces on Lindor this week. That was just as good as it gets. And if you're a youngster out there, go out and get it, because Billy can explain infield baseball as well as anybody.
Do you, Alex, do you have a favorite Oriole that's not named Ripken?
Well, yeah, that's the layup for me, right? Number 8. Why I wanted to play shortstop. You know, I love Brooks Robinson. Big fan of what Mike Messina did here.
Okay,
for a
right.
long time.
Can't go wrong there. A ball and a strike to Brett Gardner.
Kenny Singleton.
As good as they get, right?
As good as they get. Class act. And on his last year with the Yes Network, I mean, he is maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason Eddie Murray used to have 125 RBIs every year is because Ken Singleton was getting on base before we were aware of OPS and before we were so hyper focused on base percentage. Kenny knew how to take a walk and hit for power.
Class act.
Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Brett Gardner, batting with 2 gone and a runner at first.
And Moses just tells me that Singleton is coming back in 2019, which is great news for all Yankee fans. Attaboy, Kenny.
Little check in at first base for Robinson, who looked like he wanted to go 2 pitches ago.
Great time to run here. If he gets thrown out, you have your leadoff hitter. Leadoff.
Taking as per usual, Brett Gardner evens the count at 2-2. He has been one of the most patient hitters in the game the last number of years. No different in 2018. Swing percentage, 2nd lowest in the game. There goes Robinson at a big jump, and Gardner pops it up. In shallow right is Jones to retire the side. Both Ripken brothers, Eddie Murray, John Lowenstein, Terry Crowley, Players Weekend when everybody wears nicknames. Buster moments ago had a chance to catch up with Buck.
So Buck, what have you seen in Dylan Bundy tonight compared to his previous outings?
Pureness of his stuff's a little better, but command's still a little bit of a challenge. With them, they got a lot of weapons, but stuff's better. It's good to see, especially in late August. Not quite like Severino at 99 in late August, right?
Second time through the order, seems like better at bats against Severino.
Well, he's a guy you can't do too much against. The slider, he's got the slider strike and the slider that from ball to strike the ball that makes it tough. But you command that type of fastball. But we've had our opportunities. Just a pop and getting back in it.
Buck, thanks.
Okay, you got your nickname?
Yeah, Buster.
Yeah, we got God-given ones, right?
Exactly.
What's Buster stand for?
Robert Stanberry only the third. Sorry about that.
Outstanding.
Is that like vintage Buck Showalter to actually take over the interview and start interviewing the
Buster.
reporter? Like he's got such a gift for that. 0-2 is the count to Chris Davis leading things off in the home fourth.
He does it in our meetings with him too. You come in with like, these are the things I want to talk about, and you leave and it's like he just took over the meeting and he was going to tell us what he wanted.
Didn't answer a single question, but still gave you great information. But it was the information he wanted to give you.
Yep.
He is a delight.
It was fun.
And he also cut off the conversation because he didn't want to give me his real name. William Nathaniel Showalter III.
Yes.
No wonder.
You looked it up. Both the thirds too.
Who was very proud to tell us today that he is now a grandfather.
Oh, no! No!
And on the appeal, Davis is rung up for the second time tonight. Well, in his 9th season here with the Orioles, a winning percentage over 500, over 3,000 games managed, 3-time manager of the year. The only thing missing on that resume is a World Series appearance.
I tell you, he is as valuable today in a major league dugout than ever in his 20-year career. And the reason why, he can mesh old school and new school as well as anybody, but really understands the nuances, understands that everything doesn't sit with just numbers. If you look at what he did with the Yankees, he left, Joe Torre came over, 4 championships. He goes to the Diamondbacks, from 0 to 100, they won a championship. And of course, even here with the Orioles, they've been to 3 postseasons, Jessica, 12, 14, and 16.
0-2 the count to Tim Beckham, rather.
Go ahead, Jess.
I just like the point that he made when we were talking to him about the 6th element, because there is so much information now. And you hear managers still talk about this, but the meshing of the information with also understanding the player. And you talked about it with Andy Pettit. You made the point in that meeting about his numbers may not have showed the pitcher that he was, but you get to the postseason and you knew what you were going to get. And that's the element that I feel like Buck Showalter is always able to recognize. It's that 6th element that doesn't always show up on paper.
That's right.
Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Tim Beckham. Well, as we mentioned earlier, there is some uncertainty regarding Buck Showalter next year, regarding Dan Duquette next year. They're all in, or both rather, in their final year of contracts here as Beckham strikes out.
Yeah, and Matt,
Go ahead, Buster.
Yeah, Showalter, yes, his contract is up at the end of this year, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens here. I asked him the question earlier today, Buck, what do you want? Does he want to continue as manager? And he said, I'm not going to touch that one. So then tried to find a question that would give you some indication of his feeling, and he said, I love to manage, I love being around players. And the question is, does the Orioles leadership want Buck to come back? He's been such an important part of this organization, helped this turnaround over the last 9 seasons. And I feel like if they're going to make a change, if they decide that they don't want to retain Buck as manager moving forward, they should allow him to do that on his own terms as we go down the last month, because this is someone very important to this last decade of success.
I agree with that, Buster, and he deserves a tip of the cap. But look, I think there's a lot more baseball in Buck Showalter. You know, I know managers are getting younger, like Alex Cora and Aaron Boone. I do believe Buck Showalter is an anomaly, and he understands the game of baseball. He's a lifer, and I think he has a lot to offer. And there's no better man in baseball for a leverage buyout situation. And what I mean that is a complete rebuild. He's done it with the Yankees, he's done it with Diamondbacks, and he's now done it here. Buck Showalter is a great candidate for a buyout situation.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Renato Nunez, batting with 2 gone, and the base is empty here in the 4th. And Luis Severino strikes out the side in the 4th. 7 tonight for the Yankee right-hander, who continues to lead 4-0. Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. A young Alex Rodriguez launching number 300 in April of 2003. Giancarlo Stanton sitting on the verge of that same milestone at 299. And trying to join Alex, Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner, Ryan Howard, and Juan Gonzalez is the quickest to 300 homers. 0-1 the count to Giancarlo Stanton. 0 for 2 so far tonight. And behind 0-2 here in the 5th. Stanton, Hicks, and Andujar here for the Yankees. Bundy makes quick work of Stanton again.
Credit to Dylan Bundy, because he's had Stanton. You could tell by this last swing the confusion. After a swing and miss through a slider, he tries to hold up on a fastball away. 2 strikeouts on the fastball away already tonight. Excuse me, the first one on a fastball away, second on a slider, and here he's just caught up. He's stuck in between 2 strikes. We've seen Stanton hot the last few weeks especially, but tonight Dylan Bundy has had his number.
Here's Aaron Hicks now with 1 gone. You know, there have been some real feast or famine moments for Stanton this year, and it almost contradicts how consistent he's been, especially since about the end of May. So a 3 strikeout night for him tonight. We know he had that 10 strikeout weekend in the Bronx in April. He's also had a handful of 4 hit games this year. In fact, more than a handful. He's had 6 of them.
Par for the course for a big man who has so much power. You take the good and the bad, and after, you know, for a long season, when you look up, you're going to see the same numbers every year. Close to 40 home runs, over 100 RBIs, and that's the kind of damage you want out of the middle of your lineup.
2 balls and 2 strikes to count to Aaron Hicks.
You know, something to note of a guy like Stanton. I mean, that's where I think strikeouts, you take them for both these guys right here, Aaron Judge and Stanton. Why? Because they're going to hit you 40 or 50 home runs. When you have a guy that's going to hit you 14 or 15 home runs, not so kosher. Now, one thing to note on Stanton, like Aaron Boone told us, he gets better with history, Jessica. After the 11th and 12th at bat, damage started going up. He's only faced Bundy less than a handful of times, and it shows, to your point, Jessica.
2 quick outs for Bundy here in the 5th, and that'll bring up Andujar, who has been one of his big problems tonight. A rookie third baseman with a single and a 2-run double that came back in the 3rd. So he starts him with a curveball in the dirt.
Singled on the fastball in, found its way to the grass. He doubled on a ball away, fastball up and away.
Ripped through the hole on the left side. And Miguel Andujar swinging the bat with a lot of confidence tonight. Well, Andujar, Stanton, Hicks, part of the reason why these absences have not hurt. Gary Sanchez on the DL with a groin strain. Same injury, knocked him out a little later. Aaron Judge with a chip fracture in the wrist. Didi with a heel injury. And Aroldis Chapman left knee inflammation that landed him on the shelf on August 22nd. Yet through it all, and as we talked about when we went on the air, the youth connection, guys like Andujar and Torres, enough of a veteran presence with Stanton and Hicks, and the Yankees have been just fine the last few weeks.
And getting better. The time frame Aaron Boone has laid out for reporters recently is that they expect Gary Sanchez could be back in their lineup a week from Monday. He has been down and working out. He's dropped about 10 to 15 pounds. He played as a DH in a Gulf Coast League game on Saturday. He's going to join their AAA team on Monday. Didi Gregorius also expected to be back in the lineup on September 3rd if he doesn't have a set.
A ball and a strike to count to Neil Walker, who was among those who's taken advantage of some opportunity in the absence of that group we just mentioned.
I do think the biggest anticipation, though, is Aaron Judge. I felt like the prognosis straight out of his injury was a lot sooner for him to start swinging a bat. Of course, a fractured wrist.
Walker with the drive to left center that ranges Gentry over to retire the side. We'll talk a little bit more about the comebacks from Judge and company as we continue. Middle of the night, still 4-0 Yankees. presented by Taco Bell as the Yankees continue to lead 4-0 here in the Orioles half of the fifth. Back with Buster Olney, Jessica Mendoza, and Alex Rodriguez. Matt Vasgersian. A 2-run home run by Luke Voigt in the second. A 2-run double by Miguel Andujar in the third. And it's been enough support for Luis Severino with 7 strikeouts to keep the Orioles at bay tonight. Well, moments ago, Buster Olney had a chance to visit with Severino's skipper Aaron Boone.
Miguel Andujar, Boone, he's just killing the ball. How has he gotten better during the course of this season?
I think just as he's learned the league, as he's learned pitchers, he's really shown an aptitude for being able to make adjustments. You see the swing, it's special. He's a talented guy, but I think his intelligence and his ability to make adjustments is what's really allowing him to thrive.
Intense moments. What have you seen in the body language of Luis Severino tonight?
I think he's been on the attack, which has been good, and it's probably the best fastball we've seen from him in a long time. The slider's been a little inconsistent for him, but that heater is on tonight.
Booney, thanks.
To his point, we've seen velocity as high as 99 tonight from Severino, and 7 strikeouts would back up that point. He does lose Jace Peterson to start the inning. Second walk he's issued tonight. Now it's Caleb Joseph on 0-1.
One point to note, Maddie, is half the batters he's faced, almost half of them, he's gone to at least 3 ball counts. And so you think about, yes, the fastball is much more effective. He's in the attack mode, like Aaron Boone said. The slider has been inconsistent, and he just hasn't had, though, that put-away pitch. And we've seen a lot of foul balls and a lot of 3 ball counts, especially through the first 4 innings.
Ball and 2 strikes on Joseph. Joseph singled back in the third, one of 3 singles that inning against Severino that looked to have him on the ropes, but he bounced back to strike out Mancini and then get Adam Jones to hit an inning-ending fly ball.
And just there's a perfect example right there. The barometer for Yankee fans watching and appraising Severino tonight. You should be watching how quickly can he put your way once you get to 0-2 and 1-2. He wasted a pitch, a foul ball there. You do not want to get to 3-2. Put him away right now.
But that's what we're seeing more of, is the foul ball. And Luis Severino, when he's going, you don't foul him off. I mean, it's swing and miss. And he's had a few swing and misses tonight. It's not that that's not there. But the fact is a lot of these hitters are able to make contact with 2 strikes to try to get their pitch or even work the walk.
And if you watch him, he's only thrown 85 pitches, top of the 5th inning, but he's laboring. It's 4-0, but if you look at him breathing, he's laboring.
Runner goes. Pitch is taken inside. No throw down by Romine. Stolen base for Jace Peterson is his 10th in 13 attempts.
And again, you see this jump. These are the kind of things that cannot happen in October. You have to start pitching October baseball late in August, early in September. Start building good habits. You just can't turn on the lights in October and say, hey, now I'm going to hold you on.
Orioles 2 for 2 tonight on the base pass.
Here you have the number 9 hitter, Caleb Joseph, 4 foul balls. Started the count 0-2, now worked it back 2-2. Even if he gets the strikeout here, it's an at-bat that Joseph should have been put away earlier, and instead has now worked the count up as the number 9 hitter.
Joseph choked up here in a 2-strike count. He chokes up a lot, not just in 2-strike counts. You know, the long innings and the pitch counts that you guys are talking about may lead to a line similar to Severino's last start 7 days ago. And though he was effective, as he has been tonight, deep counts and big innings in terms of pitches limited his night to just 5 innings against Toronto last time around.
So I feel like normally he'd go to the slider here after the fastball up and in. And this is a big pitch for him. Booney just told Buster how inconsistent that pitch has been. You see him shake off right there. What does he want to go to put away Caleb Joseph?
Saws him off. It gets past Severino. Walker gloves it and throws him out. Peterson to third on the first out of the inning.
And speaking of the postseason, the poll question for this week: if the Yankees were to play in the wild card game, who should they start on the mound? The choices: J. Happ, CC Sabathia, Luis Severino, Masahiro Tanaka. We had over 55,000 votes. Luis Severino, #1 with 51%, but there was a broad cross-section there of answers, guys.
Yeah, but not really close, with J. Happ coming in perhaps a surprising second to some. Here's Jonathan Villar now with a 1-out runner at third. And Villar slashes a ball into left center field. Gardner tracks it down. Tagging up is Peterson. Throw to the plate will be too late, and the Orioles are on the board tonight. The RBI for Villar is his 12th as an Oriole. Makes it a 4-1 Yankee lead.
And Buster, the way you look at it, and if you're the Yankees, you have to praise, you have two options. You have 2 lefty options, 2 righty options with Sabathia and Happ, and of course Tanaka and Severino, who has 7 strikeouts tonight. For me, it all depends on who you're facing. If you're facing a young team that's very hitterish on fastballs, you may want to go with Tanaka and really have them be, chase. If you're facing a veteran team, a team like, our team when we were around, we much rather face a guy like Tanaka than Severino because we couldn't catch up to the fastball. So it's a chess move, and it's going to be a lot of eyeballs on who Aaron Boone and Yankee management decide to pitch 163, of course, if they can't catch the Red Sox.
And I would imagine it would have to do with whether or not that game's at home.
Yep.
Great point.
Because they're, they do have the #1 wild card spot for now. Oakland has a lot of momentum. Seattle's not out of the picture yet by any stretch. Yankee Stadium provides a whole different set of variables. There's a line shot out to left that'll find Robinson's glove and retire the side. The Orioles do get a run. We played 5 complete tonight, 4-1 New York. ESPN presented by Taco Bell is brought to you by Courtyard Fairfield 4 Points and Spring Hill Suites. We live by the golden rule. A reminder, MLB.TV is now available at a lower price, $49.99. Watch every out-of-market regular season game, plus get a free subscription to MLB At Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV to take advantage of this special offer.
Full moon.
Beautiful night for baseball.
Gosh.
Unseasonably pleasant, at least on this coast. I know it was really hot in the Midwest today. I was watching the Cubs-Reds game as a part of my no-life viewing
Saturday
habits
night?
of Major League Baseball. No, this morning.
It continued.
It continued in.
Did you leave your room for
that
like
night
24
of-
hours?
No, I did not.
The nightmare
Alex,
continues from
We're
that.
taking him out in Houston next week.
Yes, we are.
You're coming out with us.
And it was hot. It was hot in Chicago today. Here's Gleyber Torres to lead things off in the 6th.
I love that you have the weather, not just watching the games, but you know the weather across the country.
Pitching change as Cody Carroll takes over as we take a look at tonight's pitching summary brought to you by Cricket Wireless. Carroll making his 9th appearance of the year. So CC Sabathia not wearing CC on his jersey on Players Weekend. Cody Carroll is, however. Close the book on Dylan Bundy tonight as Gleyber Torres chases and is a strikeout victim, first out of the game for Carroll.
So, Jess, this is a good one. For today is Women Equality Day. And on this day, how cool is it that Nicole Sherry, who is the head grounds crew for Major League Baseball right here in Camden Yards, is only the 2nd woman to be head grounds crew. The other one is Heather Nabosny, who's been there for 19 years, Jessica, in Detroit.
Tigers, yeah.
Awesome.
I think it's just cool, like the story of it, because she visited Camden Yards when she was in college for, I think, an irrigation class, and was like, I love this, and I want, like, her goal was set. I want to be a head groundskeeper for a Major League Baseball team.
I spoke to Nicole today, and she told me, I fell in love a Philly fan. I grew up in Philly, and I said, but wait a minute. You went to the stadium on a field trip, and she said it was life-changing. But I said, wait a minute, Veterans Stadium had turf. She goes, yeah, but I still wanted to be the head grounds crew of Veterans Stadium. And of course, now she's done a tremendous job here with in Trenton, AAA with the Yankees, and now has 12 seasons right here.
Yep.
So it's not just the great baseball players on the field, but it's women like Nicole that are opening grounds for all type of new jobs for women in baseball. That's awesome.
One out single by Luke Voigt puts him aboard here against Carroll in the 6th. And now it's Austin Romine.
And there is no comparison playing in turf, in which I played for almost 5.5 years at the Kingdom with Ken Griffey Jr. in Seattle, than the real thing. And no one does a better job than Nicole. This field is spectacular.
What do you
I could
look
understand, you know, somebody who grew up a Phillies fan watching games on that turf. I could understand her desire to fix some of the ills in our game by saying, if I ever get the chance, we'll make sure that a grass field looks great.
What do you look for? Like, you get out there, you're saying this is beautiful, and as an infielder, like, what is it that you test and look for?
So I'm going to sound like a real nerd here. What you want is
sound.
Yeah, that's always nothing's changed. What you want is you want really soft ground, you want predictable ground, and you want the ball to stay down. And if you see it right there, that's just a thing of beauty. It started here with Cal Ripken Jr. He was maniacal about having the infield being perfect. And Billy Ripken will tell you about that probably this week. They were crazy about any bad hops. They wanted to keep that ball nice and down. And then his moisture. Wade Boggs, for example, wanted it to be soaking wet. Cal did not like it so wet. So every infielder, you have your preference, and then you work with Nicole. We had Dan Cunningham with the Yankees, who's been there for 26 years. Again, another guy that as good as they get.
And it was understood when Cal played shortstop here that no other infielder was to take ground balls before the game until Cal finished with that dirt. when I covered the Orioles in '95 and '96. I don't know if that was ever spoken, but it was understood by the other infielders. Don't touch the dirt at shortstop until Cal's done with it.
Indeed.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Austin Romine.
And Buster, that's a protocol. Usually, as whoever's starting that day has protocol, and you have first crack at the dirt, and then here comes the backups. They get a little bit more chewed up, but that's why they should be starting.
I love a good story that involves grounds crew gamesmanship, shall we say. I don't think they take place in the game as much as they used to, regrettably, for a scandal theorist such as myself. But when there's an advantage to be gleaned when, say, a batter's box is chalked a little closer toward the mound, as it was with your Seattle Mariners before you got there many years ago when Maury Wills was managing the team, and to counteract the Rick Langford curveball, he said, "Hey guys, just chalk the box a little closer toward the mound. Let's make it 59 feet. We'll give our guys a better chance." It doesn't happen like that anymore.
Well, to your point, Matt, Cal Ripken and Alan Trammell both pulled me aside the next day and said, "Young man, let me tell you something. Shortstops have to take care of shortstops. You're making a mess here. You're making a mess. Don't go through the infield. Go around the infield." And that was my first lesson of irrigation in Major League Baseball. I was 18.
I love they pulled you aside. Hey, Rook.
You mentioned Alan Trammell. The Tigers retired his number 3 today in a pregame ceremony at Comerica Park. Richly deserved honor for one of the newest Hall of Famers. And Romine's hanging around on 3 and 2.
And of course, Trammell and Whitaker and Anderson managing that team, that '84 team with Gibson. It was one of the great classics when they beat the Padres. I almost said your Padres, Matt, but you're kind of an Oakland, but you have a little Padres history. So
next full count pitch is again fouled away. I believe, and Buster, you could fact check this in the database between your ears, I believe the 48 Indians were the first team to actually commission a postseason share, that is a paycheck, for the grounds crew.
Wow, I love that.
That's great.
Again fouled away.
Okay, I didn't stay up and study that last night. Okay, I just want to confess right now, Matt. I know that's what you determined. That's what you dug out last night at 12:45 at night.
When the power went out in Dodger Stadium, he was left with nothing else.
Yeah, I was banging on my phone.
Grounds crew facts.
So Matt, that's a good point. So for example, Dan Cunningham has been there for about 27 years with the Yankees. If the Orioles, and I know it's a hypothetical, so bear with me, if the Orioles win a championship and they vote her in, if the share is $250,000 or $350,000, Nicole gets a full share.
Yeah,
like a player, which I think is pretty cool.
That's a big deal.
Yeah,
sure. And the grounds crew people all certainly appreciate that. Long, productive at bat for Romine. And it results in a base on balls to put runners at first and second with 1 gone.
Nicole, however, has been mathematically eliminated this year.
Yeah, it's not coming this year. So after the 12th pitch at bat and walk to Romine, here's Shane Robinson now. When you say a share, are you at liberty to tell us what a share is? Like, what was your postseason? What's a share? So are we talking about millions here? What are we talking about?
Millions in a whole, not millions when it comes to individuals. So for example, sometime around the first or second week in September, you meet with the 25-man roster, and then you have a vote: full share, half share, or quarter share. And a lot of times Dan Cunningham or Nicole will be an easy one, full share. And then you say, we'll give them a quarter for her staff, for her team. And that's the way it works. If you're in the DL, because of the collective bargaining agreement, you automatically get a full share.
Okay.
And then the guys that come up in September, you may just do it mathematically when it comes to numbers, and you just divide it into 6.
Well, last year, and I'm not telling any state secrets here because this was published on MLB.com. The Houston Astros issued 60 full shares. 1-2 pitch is sent out the other way to Jones. Tagging up at second is Voit. Runners at the corners with 2 gone. So the Astros won a World Series title, 60 full shares, and that counts, you know, players, groundskeepers, all the personnel that helped contribute to that.
Trainers.
And yeah, it's a lot of dough.
What's the number?
Oh, it's around 325,000 for some of the full shares. I will tell you, and Alex will back me up on this 100%. You want to talk about an issue that can be divisive within an organization, that allotment of shares, if people are left off that list, wow. That they hang on to those grudges for years.
Buster, you're dead on. And what's interesting is sometime around the All-Star break, the people that are on the fringe, they start politicking and start saying, hey, when is that shares meeting? Everybody wants a piece. And listen, I don't blame them. It's a team game. And you win championships collectively. It's not just the 25 players. But I believe, you know, the bleacher creatures, the trainers, the people that park, it's a collective effort. I really feel that way.
All right, so for the Houston Astros, who won the World Series last year, a full share, $438,000, 901.
$438,000.
Maybe they should start politicking in spring training.
That's some serious dough. Bonus at the end of the season.
Well, and think about it. If you're a groundskeeper, athletic trainer, how much that sort of paycheck can augment your shares. In fact, you know, years and years ago, when players made less money, the players actually on the Yankees in the 1950s, they felt like that was part of their potential earnings. They took that very seriously. And if they saw a player call up to the big leagues who wouldn't necessarily be able to help out with that, they'd mention that. Hey, you're ruining our shares here. It's a lot of money.
Buster, if you think about it, there's some bullpen catchers out there that are making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year. They're strictly betting and hoping that if they don't win the World Series, they can maybe get 150 or 200 if they get to the ALCS. Sometimes in some teams, the bullpen catchers and the secondary staff, it's more upset that they got eliminated than the actual players.
Ball and 2 strikes. It remains to Brett Gardner.
Yeah, when I covered those Yankees teams in the late 90s, the guys who would throw batting practice, they would make some serious money because year after year after year they were returning to the World Series, winning the World Series 4 times in 5 years. Think how much money they were getting while acquiring a full share voted on by the players.
2 balls and 2 strikes. BP guys get full share?
So what they'll do is, let's say there's 4 or 5 guys that are in the BP category, they may share a full share.
Okay.
But very seldom do you have a BP guy that gets a full share.
Trainers?
Full share.
Okay.
Yankees, you know, they had security, so security, if they have 2 or 3 or 4.
Full share of home plate on the ball that gets away from Caleb Joseph as Luke Voit scores. And the Yankees get their 4-run lead back. It's now 5-1 New York.
Just a fastball. He pulls. Wild pitch all the way. Not much Joseph can do right here. He's expecting the fastball low and away, and he just yanks it. Almost at Gardner's ankles.
So the wild pitch plates a 5th run. Romine to second. And it's 3 balls and 2 strikes to Brett Gardner. And there's ball 4. We talked about the Yankees going back home after this one tonight. They start a 3-game series with the White Sox tomorrow in the Bronx. Then the Tigers are in town for 4. Come out to Yankee Stadium. See Andujar, Hicks, and Stanton all in action. Get your tickets now at Yankees.com.
No one in the stadium is happier than Bundy is out of the game than Stanton, who, Jessica, as you mentioned, has had a really rough night all night with all his pitches. The fastball, the slider, just has not felt comfortable. Now you have Cody Carroll, New start, fresh start. One swing can change everything.
Look at this guy. He's got the 300 sign made out of cardboard like John Cusack and Say Anything in the boombox. He wants to see a milestone homer tonight. Stan, to Alex's point, a strikeout victim 3 times tonight with Bundy on the mound. .98 mile-an-hour fastball swung through, and it's 0-2 now. A single, a pair of walks, and a wild pitch. Plated a run in the New York 6th.
He hasn't put his arms down yet. I mean, he is dedicated. That's the best homemade sign as you can get, too. Sharpie, rip off a piece of cardboard.
Still 0-2 to Giancarlo Stanton. Four multiple hit games in his last 9, but quiet tonight with 3 strikeouts. A big hit away from really opening up a sizable advantage here mid-game. Up and in to make it 2-2.
It's interesting, his first 3 at-bats to Bundy primarily going away, both with the fastball and the slider. Now Cody Carroll, he's seen 4 fastballs up and in.
He's set up and in again. Stanton pops it up. Joseph at the plate to retire the side. The Yankees settle with 1, and that young fan will have to settle for Stanton's next at bat. Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. A reminder, great Major League action all week on ESPN, starting with Monday Night Baseball's doubleheader tomorrow night. The White Sox and Yankees at 7 Eastern, followed by the Rockies and Angels at 10 Eastern next Sunday night. Alex, Jess, Buster, and I will be in Houston for the Angels and Astros. And by the way, you can watch the A's and Astros at 8:10 Eastern on ESPN Plus tomorrow night. Luis Severino back to work after sitting for a while. A long previous half inning. He's back out there for the bottom of the 6th to go to Trey Mancini, who takes a swing and sends a ball to deep center field. Gardner looks up and this one's gone. Trey Mancini straightens out a 97-mile-an-hour fastball for his 18th of the year.
Everybody's got a cookie zone, and for Trey Mancini, he likes the ball down in the zone. Luis Severino gives him 97 right at the knees, as you said, Matt, and this right there for Mancini, as soon as it was hit, no doubt about it.
We talked earlier about how Mancini had some good numbers against Luis Severino, and it shows up tonight. Back to a 3-run game now for Adam Jones. So as Severino approaches 100 pitches, that gets the Yankee bullpen active. Chad Green was up at the start of the inning as his warm-up intensifies a bit. 0-2 the count to Adam Jones, starting in right field tonight. And that's what looks to be the case from here on out for Adam as an Oriole. We were all looking forward to watching Cedric Mullins play tonight. Not in the starting lineup because of a minor hip injury that has him day to day.
He is fun to watch in the outfield. We showed earlier him robbing the home run from Stanton, which would have been home run number 300, but an athlete, player to honestly look forward to the future of the Orioles. Cedric the Entertainer.
Cedric the Entertainer. And Adam Jones, for his part, has kind of signed off on the passing of the torch, if you will, to a player that he hopes will be the next great Orioles center fielder. A swing and a miss. Second time he's gone down on strikes tonight. ESPN technology is built for baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile, using our front row camera.
That's the best changeup of the night for Severino. A power changeup with tumbling split finger type movement and rotation.
So the strikeout after the home run, and now it's Chris Davis, who has struck out twice tonight. Davis sends a fly ball the other way for Robinson, and out number 2.
We talked in the open about Severino and his slider being an effective or ineffective pitch, not consistent tonight, as Aaron Boone said. You'll see it back up here to a few of the batters where you see where Austin Romine is set up, you see the miss, but then when he gets the depth, this is Luis Severino when he is rolling. This is what you saw the first 18 starts of the season, is when that pitch is going well, you see different results, but we've seen 2 of them tonight in his slider.
2 gone now for the shortstop, Tim Beckham, who takes a strike.
And you're looking for small bites, Jess. To your point, you're not going to get it all back in 1 or 2 starts. But if you can go back-to-back quality starts, you have another couple before you face the Red Sox, all of a sudden you start building some momentum, because Severino understands he's going to have to be better than he's been tonight and his last start in October in order for the Yankees to reach the ultimate goal.
And the good news right now is this start combined with his last start versus Toronto have shown that improvement. If he can get past the 6th inning, I mean, this is something that's been his Achilles heel. Is only 14% of his starts in the last 8 has he gone 6 or more innings. He was at almost 80% with that same number, going 6 or more innings in his first 18.
0-2 to Beckham. A roller to shortstop. It throws offline, and Beckham's able to beat it out. That will likely be scored as an error to Torres.
Beckham, who can run, hitting the slider with a running start. A little bit of a mishandle there by Torres, and then the ball just gets away with it.
That's going to be all for Luis Severino tonight. Leaves with the lead and route to what would be a major league leading 17th win of the year. To the Yankee bullpen we go after a quick timeout. Plus, it's the A's and Astros. Brett Anderson and Garrett Cole on the mound in that series opener. Tuesday at 7 Eastern, Marlins and Red Sox. Same matchup Wednesday at 6:35. They'll all stream live on the ESPN app, so start your free trial of ESPN Plus now. Well, Luis Severino would have liked to stick around for one more.
This is after the error. Looking in to Aaron Boone, the manager, just one more. And you know what? We've talked body language all game long. I like this body language. Yes, it's down. He's bummed, but why? He wants to stay in this game. He wanted to get through 6 innings. And that's where that error is so huge, because you look at August 18th versus Toronto. This is his last 2 starts. He's improving. He's starting to feel like the old Luis Severino again, and he wanted to finish on a high note. He didn't get it there.
Chad Green takes over with a runner aboard after the error. A run in on the homer by Mancini and 2 away. Renato Nunez, the batter for Baltimore. Green last appeared on Friday in this series and earned the win that night. Pitched a perfect 9th.
He has looked good lately. He struggled a little bit this season. He started to rely a ton on his fastball, and teams started sitting on it because he went away completely with his slider. Was not confident in that pitch. Was not working well for him. When you're a 2-pitch pitcher and teams can sit, I don't care how good your fastball is. Now he's adapted the changeup to mix in as his secondary, and we've seen him back to his old self.
And just to put a button on your Severino point, I think is really vital to understand for Severino psychologically and emotionally. There's an enormous difference between 5 2/3 and 6 clean innings. The domino effect of that error or the mental mistake by Torres affects Severino, affects Larry Rothschild, the pitching coach. Green has to come in the game, is just not as clean. When you're the Yankees, you want to start playing clean baseball, because that's what's going to equal a world championship. And now there's a base hit.
Flare out to center field. It's going to dump in. Beckham to the next station.
It just changes the dynamic of the game. You want to play clean games. This is the time of year where you want to start cleaning up your game and start playing button-up baseball.
Well, especially for a pitcher that's been struggling. You got to get his back.
Yeah, Jess, and so all of a sudden the tying run comes to the plate.
It's the switch hitter Jace Peterson who has walked and singled tonight. By the way, the error by Gleyber Torres, his third in the last 3 days, 15th of the year. Should be noted that most of his time this year has been at second base, but he is more than familiar with the shortstop position. That's not an excuse. Filling time there until Didi Gregorius gets off the DL.
And he'll make the flashy plays. I mean, he is fun to watch defensively, but it comes down, and this is where the use shows, to the routine, to the 2 outs in the 6th. Pretty routine ground ball to get his pitcher out.
And maybe a team like the Orioles won't make you pay, but a team like the Red Sox, the Astros will, and certainly the Oakland that are on fire. And my message to a player like Torres would be, I'm going to reward you for the more boring you are, the better you're going to be. I want boring, boring, boring.
That one gets away from Romine, a cross-up. Peterson just barely able to get out of the way, and that moves Beckham to third, Nunez to second. And one that Romine really didn't have a shot at, a wild pitch that advances the runners. It'll drive in a run. The Orioles taking advantage of the opportunity created by the 2-out error, and it's a 2-run ball game.
And it's been simple hitting for the Orioles too. Just ground balls, finding grass. Seen the last 2 hits, one a jam shot just finding its way to the grass after the error. And this one a pull pitch is a seeing eye ground ball that gets by Neil Walker, who's shaded up the middle.
Turning into a nice night for Jace Peterson. A pair of singles, a walk, a run scored, and an RBI. And now it's Caleb Joseph. Runs on base. Peterson runs, no throw down. His second stolen base of the night.
Tying run now is a scoring position, Matt, and we talked about the domino effect. If you look at Luis Severino on the bench, it is a big difference. We talked about 5 2/3 and 6 innings. And all of a sudden, another base hit ties the game. Severino gets a no decision.
Joseph late on a fastball and behind 0-2 now.
No one in the stadium feels worse, and nobody's heart is pounding more than Gleyber Torres. You understand the ramifications of what you just caused, and you feel terrible. You understand that a base hit here ties the game. Severino goes from quality start to not a quality start, and you can just see it in his face. We talked about body language all day. That's why fundamentals are everything.
Ball and 2 strikes to Caleb Joseph. That's when you consider what it takes to win 20 games, and I know in the modern way of evaluating pitching, wins aren't as important for some as they are for others. The strikeout finishes off the side, and Green gets out of the jam without any further damage. 2, however, in the Orioles' 6th. We go to the 7th. It's now a 2-run game. Candidates for American League Rookie of the Year share a uniform and are in the spotlight on Sunday Night Baseball tonight. Miguel Andujar, first among AL rookies in batting, homers, RBIs, and slugging. Right behind him is his teammate Gleyber Torres, who joined Mickey Mantle and Lou Gehrig as the only players 21 years or younger to hit cleanup multiple times for the Yankees this year.
And Matt, one of those two guys is going to win it, but I'm surprised you, as someone who grew up with the Oakland Athletics pedigree, haven't mentioned Mr. Lou Trevino. What a season he's having.
Yeah, Lou Trevino's having a great year, but for a setup guy out west to unseat a splashy Yankee rookie for the postseason honor,
Oakland gets as much attention.
It's a great honorable mention.
I mean, right now, though, just Andujar leading all rookies in extra base hits, batting average, doubles, RBI. He's tied for home runs. I mean, today, it's his to lose.
Andujar bats second behind Aaron Hicks. Hicks, Andujar, and Walker against the new pitcher on the mound for the Orioles, as Jeffrey Ramirez takes over for Baltimore. I think we'd agree that given full health, Shohei Ohtani would have given the two Yankees a terrific run for their money.
That just would have been fun conversation too.
So much time lost to the DL, and you lose his dual nature with the injury, not pitching.
He was in the mix though.
He sure was.
2 months of the season. And then how do you then, when you're listing, you compare what we haven't seen in 90 years, 80 years, a pitcher who hits.
See the Angels a week from tonight.
Or a hitter who pitches. What do you call it?
Is he a hitter who pitches or a pitcher who hits, Alex?
You know, I'm not sure. There's a reason why Babe Ruth was the last one to actually do it and do it well. It's going to be an incredible, talk about a conundrum for Mike Scioscia and the Angels company. It's going to be very difficult. I mean, because do you want him as a pitcher or do you want him as a slugger? For me, if he's the guy that's a frontline #1 pitcher, I'll take him for 35 starts. And again, I'll take him for 1, 4, and 7 in the postseason.
Leadoff walk issued to Hicks, and now it's Andujar, who's in the midst of a great night. A pair of singles and a 2-run double. Well, Houston has gotten a little bit of its mojo back, having won 5 in a row now. Starting a big series with Oakland this week. As we look around the league, the team for me that has really impressed, and as hot as the Cardinals are, the Cubs have not lost with Daniel Murphy on the roster yet. And adding Daniel Murphy and Cole Hamels to an already pretty good team, you talk about a wealth of options. We discussed that about the Yankees. Cubs can match them option for option with their depth. A bouncer that kicked off the mound, and the relay to first goes bad. Well, the Orioles get 1 out at second.
I'm out.
Second baseman. And Beckham, just a little too much traffic there. I don't think he gets him anyways. And catches a break. That ball hits the net and does not go into the camera booth, which saves him an error.
So 1 out, 1 on.
Man, you talked about Hamels and Murphy. For me, the Cubs are the biggest winner of the summer. And the reason why is Hamels and Murphy.
Right to second base, and the quick turn back to first, not in time to double off Andujar. Well, Villar almost made a terrific play. He got that throw out of his hand before his
he
feet
landed,
hit the ground.
This is a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. If he beat it, he just beat it. October, Matt, is about trust. And, you know, over the years, you look at a guy like Andy Pettitte, there's over 300 pitchers in Major League Baseball. You can say there's 100 of them that probably had either better stuff or just graded better in sabermetrics than Andy Pettitte. But when it came down to October at the old Yankee Stadium or the new Yankee Stadium, how many people do you actually trust, Jessica, more than Andy Pettitte? And that's why Murphy and Hamels, for me, are the best two moves in the entire summer.
Hard to argue with the results. Hamels has been brilliant since joining the Cubs, and again, the team hasn't lost after acquiring Daniel Murphy.
Very seldom do you pick up a guy that in any lineup that's going to the postseason is going to hit third. And you have to think about this. If he's playing for your team and you have a man on third and one out and you have the infield in, do you feel good about Daniel Murphy being on the plate?
Gosh, yes.
Yep.
Spectacular move for the Cubs.
Oh! 2 balls and a strike to count to Gleyber Torres, who's 0 for 3 tonight. One of 3 Yankees. Check that, 2 Yankees to have failed to reach base safely tonight. Stanton being the other, who's been held 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. And Duhar at first with 2 gone. Swinging a high drive out to left. Gentry to retire the side. A runner left stranded, 7th inning stretch at Camden Yards in a 2-run game. On ESPN is presented by Taco Bell's Nacho Fries, this summer's tastiest blockbuster. Wrapping up Players Weekend with nicknames across Major League Baseball. Powers that be kind enough to indulge us in some of the hijinks. Let's take a look at Game Track, brought to you by Gillette. A pair of two-run innings for the Yankees. A two-run homer by Luke Voit, two-run double by Miguel Andujar, and the Yankees haven't looked back, though the Orioles have chipped away. A two-run game as we start the home half of the seventh. VR, Gentry, and Mancini as Chad Green continues for New York. Green gave up back-to-back singles with 2 out in the 6th that led to an unearned run. And then struck out Caleb Joseph to retire the side. And there is a former Oriole up in the Yankee bullpen as left-hander Zach Britton's warming up. We started the night by talking about the Yankees and Orioles occupying different ends of the AL Eastern Division spectrum. Chopper to shortstop. And 1 away in the 7th. The Orioles were 50 games off the division lead on August 17th. They got to that 50-game deficit through their 122nd game. That's the fewest games played to fall 50 or more back in the divisional era. And this is a futility list that they'd love to avoid. However, they are on a pace to do just that. On pace for 116 losses this year. And that's a bad news note if you wish to avoid it. Got a brutal schedule down the stretch. And there's a 1-out single by Craig Gentry.
You know, it's easy to pick on the Orioles, but you know, no one's doing that here. But I think the one thing to remember, this is still one of the great blue chip baseball towns, great stadium, and a great franchise with a terrific and a very intelligent fan base. So you've seen it with the Cubs, you've seen it with the Astros. It can happen, and it can happen in today's game much faster than a decade or so ago.
You know, here are some of the questions, and you wonder as Aaron Boone comes out. Again, he's got Britton warming up. We'll talk about what's next for the Orioles as we continue after the change. Green removed with 1 out and 1 on, and enter a very familiar face around these parts, Zach Britton, when we come back. 50th U.S. Open begins. Tennis's final major of the year, noon Eastern. Then at 7, it's our primetime coverage on ESPN2. As always, you can watch every match live on the ESPN app. Serena, Venus, Nadal, among the game's greats, lining up at the U.S. Open starting tomorrow. Well, Zach Britton out from the Yankee bullpen. Most recently pitched here, his old haunts, in Friday's win, allowed a run in an inning to earn his 5th save of the season. Began the season, of course, here in Baltimore. 1-0 with 4 saves and an ERA in the mid-3s in 16 appearances before the trade to New York just prior to the deadline.
And I love his nickname, Anglada, the back of his jersey, a tribute to his maternal grandmother, who is from the Dominican Republic, and something that I think just speaks like huge now being in a New York Yankees uniform. Half his family is New York based Yankees fans. The other half is still in the Dominican. All Yankees fans, as you know. Zach Britton.
Dominican?
Yes, his maternal grandmother, and that's why his nickname, because no one knows that, and your reaction says a lot.
I love this guy.
He wanted to pay tribute to his Dominican.
Jessica, that's I always knew I loved Britton. I cannot believe that.
You just lit up like so big when I said that right now. Like you thought I was crazy saying he was.
Talk about burying the lead. I mean, that's the line of the night.
I did try to tell you this earlier, but.
Love this guy.
Runner goes, strike taken to Mancini. Throw down to second is not in time, and that's the 4th stolen base of the night for Baltimore.
And this is just simply Buck Showalter knowing his opponent. First move, knowing that Britton's a guy that does not like to throw to first. That's just great scouting report from Buck Showalter and the Orioles.
But we've seen it all night. I mean, Jace Peterson, 2 stolen bases, and it's the jumps. Craig Gentry right there, just the move that he sees in Britton. We saw it earlier. It continues. Orioles with a scouting report on the pitchers for the Yankees.
There has not been much that Austin Romine's been able to do to slow down the Orioles running game tonight. It's been out of his hands. So 2 balls and no strikes to Trey Mancini.
And not to harp on, because again, we're just saying something to learn from, but Torres, his misplay. The difference is, we talked about Severino pitching a clean 6 innings. Then you have the 7th in Green, you have 8th Britton, and the 9th you go Robertson or Betances. But the bottom line is all clean innings. As a result, all these are kind of leverage situations and not ideal for the Yankees, and you can see it's a little bit sloppy.
Wild pitch advances Gentry to 3rd, and with 1 away, that is a potentially big miscue.
Nothing Romine can do, almost like a hockey goalie back there. More movement than any pitcher in baseball is Britton's fastball.
Changes the nature of the plate appearance for Mancini now. A fly ball can make this a 1-run game. Full count now.
And Alex, you mentioned Buck Showalter having special insight into Britton, having watched him all those years. Think about this number. In 2015, 2016, those 2 seasons, Zach Britton allowed 1 stolen base. So now Zach Britton's on the other side. Buck, the Orioles know where to go.
Wow. And if you're hitting, you have a ground ball to 2nd and short, RBI 1st and 3rd, runner should be staying at 3rd base.
Struck him out. A big strikeout for Britton after the wild pitch put a runner at 3rd with less than 2 out. Now there are 2 away.
Alex, you talked about the movement on the wild pitch, and this is a good look at when the sinker starts in the zone. And that fastball just continues to go down. You're going to see 95% fastball, and it's that fastball right there. That late sinking movement.
So now the tying run steps to the plate in the form of Adam Jones, 0 for 3 tonight. Buster talked about that stretch for Britton where he had allowed a total of 1 stolen base. It came during a time when he converted on 60 consecutive save chances. second longest streak in Major League history. As dominant a 2-year run by a reliever as any of us can recall between 2015 and 16. An all-star both years, got some Cy Young consideration. Exceedingly rare for a reliever these days. And Jones sends a ground ball to second for Walker that gets Britton and company out of the jam. To the 8th in Baltimore tonight in a still 2-run Yankee lead. Corona premier moment tonight. And it's the home run that started the scoring by new Yankee Luke Voit. Made it a 2-0 lead, and the Yankees have not looked back. On top by 2 as we start the top of the 8th inning.
Voit, who's brought a lot of energy to this lineup, and a right-handed welcomed bat, especially with Gary Sanchez and Judge mending here.
Jeffrey Ramirez continues on the mound. He pitched a scoreless 7th, and he'll get the bottom third of the Yankees lineup in the top of the 8th. Voit, Romine, and Robinson.
Alex, you were saying how Voit kind of looks like a defensive tackle to you?
Actually, nose guard is what I said.
Nose guard. Okay, his brother John Voit played for Army. He was a defensive tackle.
Shocker.
Wow.
The Voit family.
Nice.
His brother John Voit, not to be confused with the pencil-chewing actor from Midnight Cowboy and Seinfeld. Line past Beckham into left field.
What's the exit velocity on that? I think it was crushed.
This guy's Matt Holliday light.
Yes.
In fact, he's not Matt Holliday light. He's Matt Holliday 2.0. There's nothing light about this kid.
104 miles an hour off the bat. And what's nice to see with Luke Voit, what we didn't see when he first got into a Yankee uniform, and Alex, you can attest to this, we've talked about it, he pressed big time, and he said it. He got to New York, he wanted so bad to just prove to everyone that he deserved to be here, that he could earn himself into the lineup, and he didn't. He got dropped down to AAA and got humbled a bit. And now you just see it in his approach. We saw it in the home run, his ability to let that ball travel. When you're anxious and you want to make things happen, you're ahead of the ball, everything speeds up. When you can just let your swing and let the ball get to where your cookie zone is for Voit, we've seen it now with 2 big hits.
I mean, New York embraces guys like Voit. And what's impressive is obviously his size, but he's got a nice, tight, compact swing. And you've seen that early on here with almost a jam shot push home run over the 373 sign in right center. And there's a good fastball, 92 with movement. And he can actually get his hands in and just hit a rocket. Like you said, Jessica, 104 off the bat.
Still 0-2 to Austin Romine. Romine had 3 hits in the nightcap of the doubleheader yesterday. Had been 2 for his last 22 before the big night yesterday.
Romine has had an outstanding season, and if you talk to the Yankee pitchers, they rave about his game calling, his preparation, the way he works with Larry Rothschild. Great year for Romine.
Slaps it to second. VR to Beckham covering. The relay back to Davis in time to double him up.
A nice fancy double play. Beckham, nice pivot, and a strong throwing arm across the infield to Davis.
Wow, and it couldn't have been any closer at first base.
Oof.
Leadoff single erased, and now it's Shane Robinson with the bases empty and 2 gone. A single, a fielder's choice play, and a fly ball off the bat of Robinson tonight. There's a chopper that backs up Nunez. Strong throw gets him, and despite the leadoff single, the Yankees go down in order in the 8th. To the bottom of the inning, still a 2-run game in Baltimore. Ditching work for a ball game. We get it. Your life needs sports. Introducing ESPN Ditch Days contest, where your most creative excuses could win you 2 tickets for an upcoming day game. To enter, visit espn.com/ditchdays and get creative.
Creativity.
Close to school getting back in session.
I don't know about you, but I am a big fan of the orange Orioles shirt. The bright is cool.
Orange crush, if you will. The real roller out to the right side for out number 1. We asked Aaron Boone before the game if he's got any real vivid memories of this place, and he came up with this. Oh, yeah, I do, he said. August of 2003, he had just been traded over to the Yankees and was dying for a base hit. He was cold to start his Yankee career. Hit a homer that was initially called a foul ball. By his own description, he went nuts. The umpires conferred, changed the call on the field, to which Mike Hargrove, then Orioles manager, snapped. And it kind of got Booney going for the postseason in 2003.
Well, what was great about that story, Matt, was that, you know, Jeff Nelson, as you saw, was a third base umpire. He said he didn't see it. And veteran umpire Tim Cheetah behind the plate said, Jeff, it was a home run. And then he had to put his helmet and run all the way around. That was pretty cool.
Back in the day before reviewed plays and replay, yeah.
The best was just you asking the question and Booney's eyes like, yeah, I do. I got a great one.
Here's Tim Beckham now with 1 away.
You guys see who was in that crew right there? Alfonso Marquez was part of those 4 umpires that night. He was the home plate umpire tonight.
Full circle. I just wish we had the shot of Booney. What he said was screaming across the field when he called a foul. He came running across and got in his face. He's like, I'm lucky I didn't get ejected, because I was like, that was a fair ball and I need this hit.
I think he described it as he said, I went all George Brett,
yeah.
If I may quote him properly. 2 balls and a strike to count to Tim Beckham.
And if you know Aaron Boone, he's got his snapdragon inside of him, okay? Like when he would watch USC football as we got ready for Sunday night baseball on Saturday nights, he would basically have to lock himself in his room.
Yep. Especially when they played my cart.
3-1 now to Tim Beckham. Zach Britton came into the ball game with 1 away in the 7th. Struck out Mancini, grounded out Adam Jones to strand a base runner. And he grounds Beckham to the left side of the infield for out number 2.
Hey, I have a question for you 3 very intelligent folks. If you guys were the Orioles and Peter Angelo or Lou or John, the sons, hire you, Matt, Jessica, Buster, you can pick 1 player in Major League Baseball, not a pitcher, a player. Who would that player be for you to start your team?
You mean if there was like a re-entry draft?
Yeah.
Go get anybody. Contract doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're making it up. Yeah.
Max Scherzer.
Wow.
Hypothetical.
Max
No pitcher.
Oh, dang it. I wasn't listening. Mike Trout.
Nothing's no. Mike Trout. Okay.
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts.
How about you?
Buster.
What's your goal?
To win.
But is your goal to win immediately, or is it sort of a long-term thing?
You just play the game, for God's sakes.
We didn't go to Vanderbilt, Buster. 3 to 5 years. Westminster Christian here.
I'm taking Ronald Acuna Jr. if we're going big picture. Okay?
Nice.
That guy is a monster.
Little contrarian.
Alex.
I will go with Arenado from Colorado.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No wrong answers there.
We'll be back with the pitchers.
I already got a head start.
John Anderson and John Buccigross, they'll have the latest on the AL and NL West playoff races. Tight races both, plus a breakdown of Josh Allen's start against the Bengals. And the latest SC feature, the story of NBA star Marc Gasol saving lives. SportsCenter next, right here on ESPN and the ESPN app. Jeffrey Ramirez continues on the mound for Baltimore, top half of the ninth. Top of the order for the Yankees, meaning another crack for Giancarlo Stanton tonight. First it's Brett Gardner, then Stanton and Hicks, with New York up a pair. Stanton 0 for 4 tonight in his pursuit of a 300th career homer. And it's 0-2 quickly to Gardner.
So, Matt, speaking of Brett Gardner, there's a bat. If you look down there right by Stanton's feet, see that bat right there? I gave that bat to Brett Gardner about 5 years ago, and it's a lead bat. And it's probably about 60 or 55 ounces. And I had forgotten about that bat 500 times over again. And he showed it to me this week, and he goes, "Hey, Al, can you believe I still have this?" And I got like, I got sentimental. I'm like, "You still have that? It's 5 years ago?" He goes, "Yeah, there it is." Pretty cool.
I'm sure the equipment guys love dragging that around.
How much does it weigh?
It's got to be like 55 ounces. Wow. And he just uses it, you know, on deck, and he takes it home in the off season and works out with it.
Feels like a toothpick, I'm sure.
The longest tenured active Yankee. June 30th marked the 10-year anniversary of Brett Gardner's big league debut. Chases a pitch there and strikes out. And that'll bring in Stanton for what might be the final chance tonight at 300.
There's probably a small part of Stanton that wants to get this done tomorrow at home.
0 for 4 so far tonight. You know, there's so much conversation around the Yankees and Yankee Stadium being home to so many homers. And sure, the big lineup speaks to that, the short porch and left. But since 2016, there have been more home runs hit here in this ballpark than any other. Stanton quickly falls behind 0-2.
Yeah, that left center field mark, 364 feet. That is the bane of pitchers around baseball. They hate that. When I covered the Orioles, there are actually pitchers who thought it was closer to 350. And they ran a tape measure out there, allegedly.
Stanton caught looking. 4 strikeouts tonight.
And they've been pitching him tough all night. Jessica, you alluded to up and away, up and in, low and away. Sliders, that's a perfect pitch outside corner. You tip your cap, and if you're Stanton, you say, let's win the game, let's get on the charter, and I'll get this baby at home in front of the home fans.
Strike 1 to Aaron Hicks. Jeffrey Ramirez getting stronger as the night reaches a finale tonight, as Dave Robertson is up in the bullpen for New York. A mix and match for Aaron Boone at the end of the game in a save situation between Robertson, Dellin Betances.
But it's interesting because you'll see Betances really stick with that 8th inning role. And even though Aaron Boone has said that he has the best stuff within the bullpen, there's something about routine. And Betances you will not see very often close in the 9th. You'll see Zach Britton, you'll see Dave Robertson now that Chapman's on the DL. But Betances pretty much stays in that 8th inning role.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, it's an embarrassment of riches of great arms and talent. As a matter of fact, Showalter told us in his office today, the Yankees have 7 guys that can close for me right now.
Yeah.
7.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Aaron Hicks.
One of them was.
Indeed.
You know, the big picture for the Yankees beyond the micro information tonight with Stanton's home run chase. The fact that they're 5 back in the loss column of the Red Sox. They hold on for this win. They will have shaved 3.5 games off their deficit in the last 42 or so hours with the doubleheader yesterday. That kind of deficit is not insurmountable.
Especially when you have that guy back, Aaron Judge.
The most recent teams to finish in first place after trailing by at least 7 with 33 or fewer to play. The 09 Twins and 07 Phillies. It has happened in recent past as Hicks draws ball 4. Yankees hang on and win. It is a 6-game deficit to Boston, who was swept in St. Petersburg this weekend. Boston swept in a series for the first time this year.
How good Blake Snell has looked for the Tampa Bay Rays. A pitcher that doesn't get talked about, obviously, because of the team that he's on, but his stuff, it's been sick.
And the biggest question for the Red Sox, kind of hovering over New England, is what is the status of the shoulder of their best pitcher, Chris Sale? Because at the end of the day in October, it starts and ends with pitching. And you need Chris Sale for game 1, 4, and 7.
Miguel Andujar has been on base in all 4 of his plate appearances tonight. Single, RBI double, single, and reaching on an error. Off the end of the bat, a cue shot, and Ramirez will do it himself to retire the side. Last chance for the Orioles, down a pair. David Robertson enters from the Yankee bullpen to try to wrap it up right after a break. Sox, but before that, the White Sox and Yankees tomorrow on ESPN. Rockies and Angels follow on the doubleheader tomorrow. Sports Center follows us tonight. Not if the Orioles have something to say about it here late. Jace Peterson's been one of the bright spots for him. He'll lead things off against the new Yankee pitcher. Right-hander David Robertson takes over to try to shut it down in the last of the ninth.
Well, David Robertson, only 5'11", 33 years old, out of Alabama, and one of the most flexible guys. He has the flexibility of a gymnast. And even though he's 5'11", that flexibility allows him with his front leg to reach in the same hole spot, in the same landing spot as Betances, who's 6'8". As a hitter, that does not look like a ball that's coming out of a guy that's 5'11". It looks like the ball's coming out of a 6'5" or 6'6". So he literally plays bigger because he is bigger. His reach is longer due to his flexibility and explosion.
Peterson, Joseph, and VR make that Joseph and VR as Peterson's a strikeout victim. First time that the Yankees have gotten him out tonight.
This look will give you a good look too. The deception, you see where David Robertson steps, almost like this ball is coming from second base, and then the devastating curveball. And this is his go-to pitch. But you talk about the reach, the step, Alex. Take that step and also the angle that he comes off the rubber from, angling himself towards that third base dugout.
Did you see the roll tide kicks that he's sporting? I mean, college football right around the corner.
Oh, he's Bama all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, he's such a unique athlete. He's very lean, again, like a gymnast, has great explosion. And when he shags every day, and he learned this from Mo, he goes out and shags every day, all out for his conditioning. He catches left-handed and throws left-handed, so he's ambidextrous.
2 balls and no strikes to Caleb Joseph.
A guy that is much better than just what you see on paper. He's better than 5'11". He's better than what you see. He plays up. Everything plays up. 92 is 95. The curveball looks good. It's great.
All four!
And the other element is he can pitch in October and pitch very well. Battle tested.
He loses Joseph on a 1-out walk, so that'll give the Orioles a chance to bring the tying run to the plate once again. You know, I did want to finish the thought on the Orioles, and, you know, given the fact that they are wrapping up, they are in the throes of a rough season. And Alex, you alluded to this earlier. The questions moving forward, how will they respond with a high draft choice coming up in June, with a lot of money coming off the books after this year, lots already off with the trades? If you're going to look back at some of the worst finishing teams in the wild card or divisional era, the '98 Marlins, and that was the team after the World Series championship. Wayne Huizinga fire sale, all the veterans were sent packing. They finished 52 games back.
Oh no.
The next time they had a winning record was 6 years later. The '98 Devil Rays finished 51 games back. The next time they had a winning record was a decade later. It takes a while. It's not like the NFL or even the NBA when you can flip it from one season to the next.
Oh!
Sure, you can abbreviate the timeline. The Cubs arrived quicker than we thought in 2016. The Braves are the story this year, coming quicker than we thought. But it's not a one-year flip on a dime.
It's not, Matt, but if you're Peter Angelo's, John or Lou are the two sons. If you're playing chess, you want Bobby Fischer making the best moves. Considered the greatest chess player in the world. The most important decision in business, in baseball, is who's going to be your CEO. Who's going to make the decision in personnel. Who's going to, and again, work on international markets, work on drafting, putting a team together. That's your, so if you're the Baltimore Orioles, go get your Bobby Fischer.
2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Jonathan VR. Got him, and a little revenge for David Robertson after VR got him for a 2-run homer on Friday.
And this is what you call a wipeout curveball. We talked about the quarter. That is the the dime. Look how tight this is. As a hitter, you just see the spin of a dime, Jessica. And it's the reach, is the explosiveness, is the gymnast-like flexibility that makes this 5'11" asset for the Yankees act like he's 6'8".
Craig Gentry represents the last chance here for Baltimore on the first pitch. A drive into the opposite corner. Stanton back there to make the catch and end the night. The Yankees finish off a 4-game sweep. They've won 8 of their last 9 and have big-time momentum as they try to chase down the Red Sox in the AL East. Final score tonight, 5-3 Yankees. A reminder, Major League Baseball action coming up Monday. The Yankees and the White Sox, followed by the nightcap, Rockies and Angels. For Alex Rodriguez, Jessica Mendoza, and Buster Olney, Matt Vasgersian saying so long from Camden Yards. Sports Center is next with John Buccigross and John Anderson.